All right, it's 5:15, so we'll go ahead and get started. This is the November 18, 2025 meeting of the City of Charleston Board of Zoning Appeals. Zoning present here today are Robin Richards, John Bennett, Bill Goodwin Jr., Chappie McKay, Allison Grass, and me, your chair, Jeff Tibbles. Present from the planning staff today, we have Matthew Slagle and Chris Swalhop. These proceedings are being recorded, and we ask that those who speak, please identify yourself for the record. We will conduct this meeting in the usual fashion. We will first receive information from city staff about the applications and their recommendation. If the recommendation is favorable and no one objects to the application, the matter is uncontested. The Board of Zoning Appeals usually, but not always, approves uncontested applications. For all applications, the board reserves the right to ask questions of the staff, applicant, or others in attendance prior to rendering a decision. If, however, the city recommends against the application, or if there is opposition to the application, we treat the application as contested. And then we hear from the applicant and anyone else who is in favor of the application. Next, we hear from anyone opposed, followed by a short rebuttal from the applicant. We then close the public hearing portion of the meeting for that particular application and open discussion to the Board of Zoning Appeals members only. We will then make a decision to approve with conditions, or deny the application. The Board of Zoning Appeals zoning has the authority to do three things. Number one, hear appeals to decisions of the zoning administrator. Number two, grant special exceptions, a fact-finding function of the board. And number three, grant variances to the zoning ordinance if the application meets the hardship test outlined in section 54-924 of the ordinance. The board may deliberate and make a final decision on a matter by a majority vote of members present and qualified to vote, provided that not less than a quorum is present and qualified. However, an affirmative vote of 2/3 of the board members present and voting shall be required before a use variance may be granted. For a variance to be granted, the Board of Zoning Appeals must make the following findings. A, that there are extraordinary and exceptional conditions pertaining to the particular piece of property. B, these conditions do not generally apply to other property in the vicinity. C, because of these conditions, the application of the ordinance to the particular piece of property would effectively prohibit or unreasonably restrict the utilization of the property. And D, the authorization of a variance will not be of substantial detriment to adjacent property or to the public good, and the character of the district will not be harmed by the granting of the variance. I'm required by our city's ordinance to ask you to swear to tell the truth if you intend to speak. So if you do intend to speak, please raise your right hand. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. You'll signify by saying, I do.
I do.
We do have one deferral on this evening's agenda. That deferral is came in a little bit late, but it is on our updated agenda. That deferral is B9 for 137 and 141 Spring Street. And so if you're here for B9, 137 and 141 Spring Street, you don't have to stick around. You won't be hearing that. See. So now we've got some unfinished old business to deal with, a few minutes that we need to improve. So bear with us as we get through this. Yes, and just for the record, we've been joined by Mr. Gordon Huey, who is also a member of our board. The first item on our agenda this evening is A, review of minutes and deferred applications for previously advertised BZA-Z agendas. Number one, review minutes of the October 7, 2025 meeting. These draft meeting minutes have been handed around prior to the start of the meeting, and we do have a quorum for the board members present at that meeting. So ready to entertain a motion. All right, I see Mr. McKay move to approve. Is there a second? All right, Ms. Grass seconds the motion. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, we got 2 abstentions, but we have sufficient votes for a quorum to approve from Mr. Goodwin Grass, Mr. Huey, Mr. McKay, and me. All right, the next item on the agenda. A2, review of minutes of the October 21, 2025 meeting. Again, those minutes were passed around in your meeting packet. Do I have a motion?
Move approval.
All right, Mr. Bennett moves to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Goodwin seconds the motion. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None are opposed. We do have a couple of abstentions, Mr. McKay, Mr. Huey, but Mr. Bennett, Mr. Goodwin, Ms. Richards, and me vote to approve, and that's the quorum, so that's sufficient. Put that one to rest. All right, the next item on our agenda. A3, review of minutes of the November 4, 2025 meeting. Do I have a motion on that one?
Move approval.
All right, Mr. Bennett moves to approve. Is there a second? All right, Ms. Richards seconds the motion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None are opposed. We have two abstentions, Mr. Goodwin and me, Mr. Huey, Mr. McKay, Ms. Grass, Ms. Richards, and Mr. Bennett. All vote in favor, and those minutes are approved. So now we're past the old business, although we do have an A4, 2510 Watercrest Lane, Headquarters Island, Johns Island, Council District 3, PMS number 346-07-00-072, zoned SR4. Requesting a variance from section 54-301 to exceed lot coverage. 45% is proposed, 35% is allowed to build a one-family detached dwelling. The owners are Paul Pascal and Sarah Scott Pascal. The applicant is Crosby Creations Drafting and Design Services, LLC. Mr. Slade.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I do want to note before we continue with this application that it's now a revised request to 40% lot coverage proposed. It was originally proposed at 45%. Their request is now 40%, just to be clear. This is a property, as you see here in Headquarters Plantation, on the way out to Johns Island over the Stono River. The address is the one that's shown there with the blue box, zoned SR4, sort of at the tip or the point, I believe it's called, at Headquarters Plantation. It's a vacant lot. You can see it here in the aerial image as well. Here's the application form that was submitted. And again, it's now revised to a 40% lot coverage request, where 35% is allowed by the SR4 zoning. The applicant is here and they can share more information about their slides, but I will just introduce the project briefly and then they can elaborate on anything that I might have missed. So they did respond to the variance test questions, the 4-pronged variance test. This is a variance request, not a special exception. There are several homes in this immediate vicinity that exceed the 35% lot coverage that's allowed and also exceed even the 40% that's requested. I'll let the applicant get more into those details. But complying with the SR4 zoning for the 35% lot coverage would limit the type of house that could be built on this lot. And the applicant would argue would limit the house to not even be similar to ones in the neighborhood. Here's a copy of the plat. There is a Bureau of Coastal Management critical line at the rear on the marsh. And here's the plat of the point. You can see my cursor. The lot in question, it's lot 15. Site plan showing the footprint of the house that is proposed. Another aerial photo from Charleston County's GIS showing the lot in question. Try to zoom in a little on this image. This was an analysis done by the applicant showing the footprints of other houses in the vicinity. As you're facing the lot, the house to the left has 50% lot coverage, the house to the right, 43%. Across the street, there's houses ranging from 33% to 42% lot coverage. A similar exercise looking at a few of the other houses to the left and across the cul-de-sac. The numbers are a little hard to read, but they range in lot coverage from one has 33%, many have 41 to 44%. This house here has 59% lot coverage. This is a summary of that analysis that was done. There are 18 developed single lots, 2 developed double lots, and 3 undeveloped lots in this section of the neighborhood. And of those 18, 14 appear to exceed the 35% lot coverage maximum that the SR4 zoning would allow. The ARB for the neighborhood allows up to 40% lot coverage. And my understanding is that the ARB has reviewed this proposal and would not approve the originally requested 45%, but is willing to approve the 40%. But I'll let the applicant speak more to that. Again, those are the ARB guidelines, 40% lot coverage allowed. These are a couple of photos of the vacant lot. There are some live oak trees that are not grand on the property. Looking out at the marsh and the Stono River in the background. Some of the surrounding homes in the neighborhood. And again, another aerial showing the vacant lot. The building plans, if there's interest, if there's something you'd like to look at, we can go through these. I believe it's a 3-bedroom, 3.5 bath house that's being proposed on this lot. Relevant case history, the city does not have any records or anything in our files related to this vacant lot. And the staff recommendation is for approval with the clarification that this would be a request of 40% lot coverage, not 45%, if the board decides to approve this request.
All right, thank you, Matt. Do we have anybody here who is in opposition to the application for 2510 Watercress Lane? Everybody here in opposition? Okay. We'll hear from you in just a moment. First, we'll hear from the applicant. We have the owner of the applicant present. Thank you. Please state your name and address.
Good evening. My name is Jody Crosby, and I am with Crosby Creations Home Designs.
And my name is Noelle Cade. I'm the architect that served as their ARB liaison in the ARB process with headquarters.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for hearing our case this evening. If we could go back to the beginning. Next slide. So just to go through the variance test questions as are the most important portion of a variance request. Historically, within this neighborhood, homes have been constructed according to specific guidelines of the neighborhood rather than the general SR4 category. So what I mean by that is 35% SR4, 40% ARB. Many homes have been approved over that 40%. And I think it was really just because the ARB guidelines weren't being very heavily enforced. And that was a conversation that I actually had with one of the ARB members. As I go through this presentation for you, I'll sort of go through some of the back and forth that I've had with the ARB, with this particular individual, and him just trying to help us get in line so that we can be meeting the guidelines, so that we could reduce our request for the BZA. SR4 limits coverage at 35%, neighborhood goes up to 40%. Some of the existing footprints are much higher, as we'll be able to prove with one of the slides a little bit further down, as was already kind of mentioned. Complying with the SR4 zoning code would not allow for the same home size and dimension standards afforded to other homeowners within this neighborhood. And we do not believe that granting this variance would allow for a home to be placed on this lot, which would be consistent within the existing homes on surrounding lots and the overall aesthetic of the neighborhood. I want to also point out that we have met with the ARB several times, and we approached the ARB and we asked for a meeting with the neighbors on September 15th. We did have a lengthy meeting with the neighbors so that we could just talk about the case. We could talk about the variance. We could understand where they were coming from because we knew that they were in opposition of it. And we really wanted to make every single effort that we could just to see what we could do in order to come together so that they weren't, opposed to this application. And we felt that we did well by being able to reduce it down to stay within those neighborhood standards. We do not have an official ARB approval letter tonight. It wasn't for not trying, but they had the ARB meeting last night. So we can't help what their schedule is. I do have a text message from Ben Snyder. He is on the ARB board because I was hopeful that he might be able to give us some insight because we did not receive word officially. He said, I asked him if he could give us a status update. We were unable to get an update from the management company. He said it was approved contingent of final drainage plan reviewed and approved from civil engineer. So they use a third party engineering company to approve their grading and drainage plans. So he's telling me that architecturally, we have met all the guidelines and we should receive a full architectural approval from the ARB. And he did wish us luck at this meeting tonight. And he said he hoped that we got approved. I do also, as we go forward and we talk about these guidelines and we talk about this 35%, we talk about this 40%, this 40% that the ARB says we can go up to within their actual guidelines, they include paving. So many, the vast majority of the homes within this neighborhood have concrete or asphalt driveways. The numbers that we have provided for you in this exercise are only structure, only buildings. We did not include any paving. And the reason we didn't include any paving is because we don't have actual impermeable paving. We are proposing permeable paving for our lot. So we're just trying to do a very comparative analysis for you guys. So it's building to building, because there was no point in trying to blow it out of the water and put all the paving in there so that we could just have a very apples to apples comparison for you folks tonight. Next slide, please. Next. One more. So down here with this site plan, you can see that our lot size is 4,855.33 square feet. Our total coverage is 1952.82 square feet, bringing us at 40%. And as mentioned before, that includes the house footprint, porches, decks, and the HVAC, which is required by the city. That is what the city ordinance requires us to show. So that, again, was why we just kind of kept it as simple as we possibly could. Next slide. Next. So here is where our subject lot is. The two lots all the way to the far right, we did not include those. Those are the two double lots that are in the neighborhood. So they're anomalies within this exercise. But just to recap, we have anywhere from 32% on this particular street in the point all the way up to 50%. Next slide, please. And then we go down to the lowest on this is 33% and go all the way up to 59%. Again, just the structures. The 18, next slide, please. Of the 18 developed lots, two of them are double lots, 3 are undeveloped. Of the 14 appear to exceed the 35% lot coverage Try not to beat a dead horse here, guys. We're within ARB guidelines. Next slide, please. So as we go through and we just sort of look at recapping some of the ARB guidelines, this is literally just an explanation of everything that I just told you as to how they calculate the lot coverage. So it's just, these were screenshots that were pulled out of their either ARB guidelines or covenants and restrictions. And yes, we do have a 3-bedroom, 3.5 bath home. Next, skip 2 slides. Oh wait, all those lot, you guys already looked at all that. I was just gonna go straight to the floor plans. One more, there we go. As you can see, the total heated square footage up in the center upper portion, it kind of gives all of the square footages, which I think is pretty important. 2809. It's not an enormous home. It's pretty modest. It's perfect for a growing family, which the Pascals are. And it's a reverse floor plan. So we have bedrooms downstairs with the family space upstairs with a study. This slide just shows that we are within the other city regulations of the maximum building height to adhere to zoning guidelines. And unless you guys have very specific questions about the plans, you've already kind of went through and seen them. Probably not much point in summarizing any more of that. Well, do you have anything to add? That concludes my presentation.
Okay, good. Thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions for the applicants while they're here? Thank you very much. We'll
Thank you.
hear from you again after we hear from these folks.
The homeowners are here and they would.
Sure,
like
yeah,
to be-
no, we will listen to anybody else in support of the application first.
Hi, I'm Paul Pascal, here with my wife and my son. Thank you all and good afternoon for your time and giving me a chance to speak. This is something that's emotional to me and my wife because this isn't an investor or a developer coming here to build a big house and flip out of it. This is a house that I'm building for my forever home with my family, a place that we hope to raise our son, a place where we host our parents, grandparents, host Thanksgivings, and build a life grounded in a good community. We've put an enormous amount of care, effort, and time into designing a home that's respectful of the neighborhood, the guidelines associated with the neighborhood, and are in full compliance with all ARB guidelines, from height to setbacks to materials, pending drainage review. We're asking what I believe to be a modest 5% variance, not to push limits, as obviously it's been demonstrated there are numbers well above 40% in our cul-de-sac, but to make a thoughtful, functional house and space that serves my family as we continue to grow, especially with the last location in the neighborhood and the setbacks. There's really not a whole lot we can do with it. It's a very minor sort of buildable area that we have. Even with that variance, I think we've been able to design a home that is aesthetically in line with the neighborhood, the surrounding Charleston area. And the home means a lot to us. Again, as I said, we're just a young family trying to build something that's going to last us. We've approached the process with integrity and a deep respect for the neighborhood, been through multiple iterations of the plans with the ARB, and have asked for a little bit of flexibility with them, to which we received much opposition. So with that flexibility no longer on the table, we have reduced our request from 45% down to 40%. And again, to meet every guideline that the ARB has for us. And with that, I really just want to thank you all for your time. And I'm like, I want to say something.
Thank you, Mr. Pascal.
Hi, I'm Sarah Scott Pascal. I was not anticipating speaking today. This is definitely not my forte. And as Paul mentioned, it's definitely something emotional for us. When we bought the lot 3 years ago in August, it just felt like home. And we didn't have this boy Haywood yet, but we could envision our lives there, and we deeply wanted to be a part of the community and all that it has to offer. And so I just hope that as y'all are reviewing this, you know, this house that you have behind you, that we've worked tirelessly with our team behind us who've already spoken. This was something that we created, you know, willy-nilly and wanted to be 40%. This is something that we had super thoughtful. I mean, it took us 2.5 years of the 3 years that we've owned this lot. And everything that we've designed is, you know, purposeful for our family and for our growing family. And just, you know, like I said, when we bought the lot, we've already kind of tried to identify the fact that we greatly want to be a part of the headquarters community. I know we have some opposition here. We threw our sons, when our gender reveal party, you know, in the dirt lot, before anything was built, and now it's staked, and granted, now we have to go restake it because those plans didn't get approved by the ARB, but now these plans behind you have. And we hope that our, you know, God willing, our next gender reveal party gets to be in the home that you have sitting behind you, that we've put a lot of thought and envisioning our whole life to be there and to be a part of the community. As Paul said, this isn't something that we're building to flip out of. We're building it to hopefully live there for as long as our family allows us to. And so just appreciate all of you listening to us.
Thank you, Mrs. Pascal. All right. Anybody else who wishes to speak in support of the application? All right, seeing no one else to speak in support, we'll hear from those in opposition. Please state your name and address for the record, sir.
Good evening, everybody. My name is John Alvanos, and I live at 2512 Watercrest Lane. Been there for over 28 years, next door to it. The problem is we don't have a problem with them building a house like the rest of the houses in the point. This 40% that they're talking about is for the whole, 45% is for the whole headquarters island. Are y'all familiar with headquarters? Are y'all familiar with the point? Headquarters island has big lots, big houses, swimming pools in their backyards. The point, the lots are 0.10, 0.11, 0.12 of an acre. They're tiny, you know, and we do not, we came, when they staked out the lots, we started asking questions because the ARB slipped the two larger houses in there, they slipped them in on us. No signs were put in the yard, anything. So the point has its own covenants and restrictions. I was on the board 20 years ago and we enforced them back then, but now they said they had no knowledge of them. So I supplied them the knowledge of it back on May 7th. I supplied them a copy of it and told them that this staked out is way entirely too large. The point has 12 foot in between houses. There's a 3-foot side and a 9-foot side. The 3-foot side is from the east and the north. The 9-foot side is from the south to the west. So when they first staked that out, they had it 80 inches off the house, not the property line, 80 inches from the house. So then I sent the email stating, we need to talk about this. We need to find out what's going on and go from there. So they came back and restaked it again. And again, the HVAC units, there are 2 houses in the point that got by. The HVACs are inside the 12 foot. The other 21 are outside of the 12 foot. So we're asking them to stay within the 12 feet. As y'all know, tiny lots with big houses, there's no room for people to walk between yards to do any maintenance on your house or anything if they're inside the 12 foot. The second thing is there are no pools in the point. I think they're going to build a plunge pool on one of them and a detached deck from what we saw. Now, the meeting they're talking about was a Zoom meeting, was not in person. To this day, none of the property owners in the point, which I've been the president for over 25 years of the HOA in the point. Nobody, I've asked for copies of the plans, engineering plans, etc. Nothing's been given to us. They're saying they approved 40%. All I can tell you is what I have in writing is that they did not approve their original plan. They did not approve them. The second point is, I don't have to tell you all about flooding in Charleston. We're on the Intercoastal Waterway. These lots are very low. Full moon, the tide comes into our backyards. Couple of times a year, they come into our garages. So when they build us and cover up, you're saying we're only going up to 40%. A tenth of an acre lot up to 40%. That's a lot. 5% on a tenth of an acre versus a half acre, 3/4 acre lot is not much, but 5% is. I can show y'all what the yard does, how it floods. So where is that water going to go to next when they build and cover up that land? In my garage in 2512 and in the garages of 2508, is that where they're going to go? In our garages? Here's another one, different time. You can see the water a foot in the yard. I'm talking about on the high side, not on the marsh back there. You can see. Here's another one. When them storms hit, look what we got. Look how high that water is back there. So where's that water going to go? How's it going to drain? Where is it going to go? I can show you more and more. This was the full moon we had last month. As you can see, the water comes all the way back to the corner. Just a regular full moon. It comes back to the corner. Here's another one, a little bit better. Show you how the water comes in. So all we want is to make sure that there's 23 homes in there already constructed. We want to make sure that the other 23 aren't impacted, or 22 aren't impacted by it. You understand what I'm saying? So I'll leave with y'all too. I don't know if you make a decision or not. I'll leave you a copy of the points architectural review that we have, which the HOA has up front. We want everybody to be, we don't have any problem with the family, but I got to look out for the other 22 families that live in there also. You know, I got permission to talk, to represent 19 of them. You know, so I'm just trying to make sure that we would like to see the engineering study when they build their house up and that water comes in, where's it going to go? What kind of drainage are they going to provide? And like I said, there are no pools. Of the 26 homes and lots, there are no pools in the point, not one. No pools are in the main island, like I said, and the 40 to 45% is for the half acre lots or bigger. Haven't seen any house plans. Average, and the biggest thing is the houses that are facing the Intercoastal Waterway. There's not one bigger than 2,400 square feet based on the Intercoastal Waterway. So if you build this one 2,800 square feet covered land, it's going to tower over the other ones on the water. It won't blend in with the other houses there. So we're just, all we want to do is match, and our covenants show, match the existing properties for the welfare and the being of the community is all we asking for. And the 12-foot between houses. And again, I've only met the owners. I've talked to Paul and his wife, met them twice. Nobody's come out to try to explain what they want to do, what the house is going to look like. Never spoke out for a meeting to speak with the neighbors, you know, just to say, hey, we're building, and there's only 2 lots left. After this one, there's only 2 lots left. So, you know, we asked the ARB, can we see the plans? Can we see the engineering studies? All we got was a Zoom meeting, you know, couldn't see nothing in writing, all that stuff you show up there. This is what they gave us. This is what they gave us at the Zoom meeting.
While you look for that, we'll hit, okay, go ahead.
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
this is what we
Let's
got.
wrap it up because
Yeah,
we've
I am.
got a long.
Variance, they just send us, this is what we got, the variance that y'all got today, you know, just stating what the variance is. You know, and I'll give you the emails that started back in May 6th. So we've had contact with the company since May 6th, nothing we threw at them last minute. And John, Mary Shannon wants to say
Yeah,
something.
yes, sir. We'll hear from anybody else in
Thank you.
opposition. Thank you, Mr. Albert.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes,
Okay, my name is Mary Shannon
you might want
Swanson.
to move the,
You want me to move?
Crystal to help you with that.
Okay.
Oh, you got it.
Okay. My name is Mary Shannon Swanson. I've been a 20-year resident at Headquarters Island. My second home sits right beside Paul, and your first name again? Sarah. And I've been there. We got moved in right at COVID. So I know the Headquarters Island very, very well. I've also had a home site. I sold it, didn't build. But it's an interesting place, the Point versus Headquarters, as he said. We get a ton of water. In fact, the back of our lots are not, we have little yards, but they provide us as retention ponds during the floods. The last one we had, you know, a pot of flowers up here, water goes all the way up. There has to be a way for the water to go somewhere. I sold waterfront properties for over 10 years. I'm a 30-year broker. I'm very aware of waterfront properties. I did a lot of walking on waterfront properties. I understand what water will do. We have a narrow marsh compared to the island. I just live in the middle of the island, so we had a break from where the water comes in. We're at the Point, which is called the Point. Water rushes in on us from the intracoastal and we get water fast. Sometimes it looks like I live on a lake. When I bought the home, Dan Freeman had it, a friend of mine, and I said, I want to know where the water, the highest it's gone, and if I can live with it, tell me the truth. He showed me, it went under the house, I know how high it went, I know how to fix it. The problem is the house that they're building is a lot of house on a 0.11. The tail end of it with the pool is a masonry structure that goes to the grade. Not elevators, no breakthrough, okay? So you have a masonry graded property to the ground. So when the water comes in, which it does, I'm at the lowest point. The water has to go to the lowest point. It's gonna hit there and go to the right. It's gonna go under my house and it's gonna affect the structure of my homes. So I came here today because of the negative impact of the back of the home where the water is gonna be taken up by structure, with the masonry structure to grade, where there's nowhere for the water to go, except under my house. It's 3 feet from my property line. I'm sure they're gonna have to build or put some kind of, I mean, of course, some kind of dirt or something to build it up, because it's a pool, it's a heavy structure on very marshy land. All these things pop in my head, but the reason I'm here today is because there's 16 of us, 16, I can give you the papers, that are against the variance, not because of the lovely family behind me. They're absolutely beautiful and they would fit so wonderful in our neighborhood. Kids are running all over the cul-de-sac. They're playing in my Pebble Drive. It's a beautiful neighborhood and I want them to be part of it with their golden retriever. This is very hurtful for me also, have to protest someone building their dream home for family. That never had to do this before. It's horrible. And how do we get along when they move in? And I'm dealing with huge drainage issues under my home that's destroying the structure of my home. Because there's nowhere for that water, because they have a plunge pool with a masonry structure, there's just nowhere for it to go. So that's all I have to say. And I'm gonna present, I don't know if I present these to someone, the variance. This is a variance request opposition, but I'm going to this to you. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
to have. I'll be quick. I'm John Beatmeyer. I live in 2509 Watercrest. I agree with Mary Shannon. You guys would be amazing neighbors. The one thing people talked about where the water goes, and we all know Charleston has flooding issues. We all know headquarters has flooding issues, drainage issues. I've given up on the flood. My house is flooded a few times. Rainwater, just regular rainwater, actually is a concern. So if you're looking here, I live 2509. So this is my home. You would think that the house on the waterfront would not affect me. There's actually a drainage easement. If you look at the plat, there's a drainage easement that runs through from my house out through the marsh. So it's got little, this little dotted line, I believe, is the drainage easement. So this is my lot. So all the water here comes to a culvert. It actually backflows to my home on this side currently. They're trying, this is the other empty lot. They're also trying to tap into that, which right now, just not a flood, not a storm, not a hurricane, a rain event. My front yard and garage flooded. This house over here, lot 17, their garage is flooded a number of times. This drainage goes to an 8-inch corrugated pipe that is underground in the marsh. So when it rains and I have a 4 and a 6-year-old to protect my house and property, we're out there with shovels trying to dig out, and water's coming under the ground and up. And the headquarters spent $50,000 on an engineering study, which did not address this easement, this other drainage easement coming from here into the marsh. There's no specific plans to address those, and those are currently pumping out underground. And my house on the inside is actually receiving that water. So where that runoff water comes from, as it connects to this easement, the path of least resistance is back inland. So we haven't seen all the drainage plans, but the existing stormwater system within headquarters, within the point, is failing, and it's not worth taxing that further than it was designed to be taxed. And it is jeopardizing multiple properties, even on the inland side of it. So that's all I had to add, and hopefully we can figure it out. We've been fighting. I've been there 11 years or longer, since 2011, and trying to figure out a drainage plan that works for the point. It's been a struggle all along. So appreciate you here.
Okay, thank you,
Let me
sir.
just give you this, this was the one email I was trying to show you.
Okay,
From the October 30th. I asked them, we haven't heard back from but the ARB approved October 31st. Good morning, the board has denied the variance, and that was 2 weeks ago. But we haven't heard anything else. And that just gives you an idea how narrow the lot is. Yeah, and I'll leave the rest of it for you. Okay, thank you all.
hi, do we have anybody else who
Yeah,
wishes
just
to
real
speak in
quick.
opposition? Yes, sir, please. Yeah, a lot of.
David Burke, I'm at 2805. Can you go back a few slides to where it shows the back of the structure? I'll stop you when you get there. That's a good one. So I just want, so again, everybody wants a nice family with a young child in their neighborhood. Who wouldn't? And this isn't about anything but the hydraulics in the neighborhood. And so I'm next door, right? And that's where the water ends up going. But if you look at that structure, that in the back where the pool, as that cantilever's out, that's closest to the marsh. And I just want everybody to get that perspective. So that's the first place that the water is going to come to. And it's kind of spread diagonally, so it's going to divert the water unnecessarily to both sides of the property, not directly through. If you look at John and Shannon's house, they have big basements, and when there is a flooding event, the water does come through their garage and then recedes back out in kind of the same manner. What we're creating here is an unnecessary hydraulic event, and I'm not an engineer, that would occur in storm surges or just in high tides. So you're going to naturally get erosion from each side of that. And Mary Shannon's house is the one that's going to probably get the biggest hit from it, because there's so much diversion over there. So I just wanted to point out that, again, it's not a matter of whether somebody gets to build a house there or not. We'd love to have them in the neighborhood. Everybody was excited when they had a party and saw the baby there. It's just the fact that there's some serious consequences if that is allowed to continue the construction that it is, and what's going to happen to the neighbors when there is a water event. That's all I wanted.
Sir, just a quick question can you tell me that that's not going to happen if there was a 35% lot coverage with the new home being proposed?
Can I tell you that what's not going to happen if there's a
All the hydraulic issues that you've described.
Well, it's not necessarily the coverage, although there are CCNRs for that. It's the obstruction in the back and not allowing the water to naturally flow in and flow out. So I think that everybody here would agree with me that if it met the covenants, but it didn't have the structure in the back, which is cement or a non-porous material that goes from the top deck all the way to the ground. So what you don't see here is that there is no pass-through at the bottom. It's a complete diversion, like a bow of a ship, spreading water away from the main ship. All right. And that's really a significant issue.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. All right, anybody else have comments in opposition? Okay, Ms. Crosby, would you like to respond?
Yes. I need to state my name again.
Nope.
Okay,
got it.
perfect. All right, I'll be brief, as brief as I can be. So Mr. Albanos, to the left, he has 50% lot coverage. If he built his home 28 years ago, then he was not within the guidelines 28 years ago. The HVACs, the vast majority of HVACs are over the setback line, which is within city ordinance. There's no detached deck. There's a deck that connects the home to the pool. I do want to point out that the area, this is all gravel in here. So even though our building coverage has that within our calculations, there is still ability to take on groundwater because that is going to be gravel because we know that there are drainage. Naturally, they're on the marsh. And we listened to what the homeowners had to say. We know that the water comes up. We're trying everything we can to mitigate that issue. It is the burden of the homeowner and the landscape architect to mitigate any water and drainage. And the ARB has a civil engineering company that they have hired, as I mentioned before, to ensure they are in compliance. We do have the 12 feet between the homes that was mentioned. So we have more than 12 feet between our structure and the adjacent structures. We are within all city guidelines, building codes, and the home has been fully engineered by a structural engineer. That is all I have. Does anybody have any questions for me?
I do just have one. Remind me, you said that the ARB had approved. I have a couple questions. So the headquarters ARB has approved the application. I think you said contingent upon stormwater approval.
That is correct.
And is that a local ARB approval of the stormwater drainage design, or is that?
They have a third
city
party.
approval?
That is of the ARB, and they have
The ARB specifically, not the city's stormwater.
Correct. So
approval,
we'll be
but
under
ARB.
additional scrutiny, obviously, from stormwater from the city when they do apply for a permit, should we get through this process.
Okay, so you'll have two levels of approval on the stormwater issue. One would be the ARB's approval of the stormwater system, and then the second would be the city's. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
Okay. And then talk to me about the other covenants and restrictions that were handed to the board. Is there any non-compliance or non-conformity with these architectural covenants that are specific to the point?
No, there is none that we could find that points to any different direction, and the 40% specifically in the big headquarters ARB guidelines specifically points to the point as being allowed 40% lot coverage, not the other lots are actually much larger. They are held to a smaller lot coverage. We went before the board of directors, presented to the board of directors to ask for this variance at the 45%. You know, we were denied. That's why we reduced it down. We did task the ARB and the board of directors to please review the point regulations. They were supposed to have their legal team review the regulations. We asked repeatedly if they had any findings, whether or not we were within compliance. We have never heard back. So good, bad, and different. We've just never heard that there was any sort of issue where we were not in compliance. So they're following their guidelines. To our knowledge, I can't imagine why they wouldn't be following their guidelines.
All right, any other questions for the applicants while they're here?
So we're following up on the question about the drainage study. There's not been a drainage study. Someone else is going to be doing the study. Is that what you're saying?
So wouldn't be a drainage study. So we have submitted a drainage and grading plan by our landscape architect, produced a drainage and grading plan that is in review by the third-party reviewer of the ARB's civil engineer right now, who I'm sure probably had something to do with some of the things that they were trying to do at the point, or maybe they didn't and they went somewhere else. I can't speak to that intelligently, but they do have a professional company that will be reviewing this application to ensure that we are within compliance.
And then one other thing, as far as being in compliance with the point covenants, I wasn't sure what you said about that. You don't know if you're in compliance. You were asking the legal.
I know that we are in compliance,
Yeah.
but there was arguments. And we said, well, then please have your legal team review it, and honestly crickets after that.
Well,
So-
and the document that we were provided, we read thoroughly and we couldn't see any contradiction.
No contradiction at all.
Thank you.
You were reading from your phone. I think that you got a verbal that they approved you.
Would you like me to reread that?
If you read it, but also have you shared it with staff?
Have you
Yes, I
forwarded
did.
it to?
She showed the phone to me at this meeting.
So we might get you to forward that staff, but if you don't mind, if you can read it again, that would be. great.
Certainly.
And the date and time, if you don't mind.
Yes, sir.
And I guess.
Yeah, we were informed it was rejected at
Hold on.
He'll come back, yeah.
Ben Snyder is a board member on the Architectural Review Board of Headquarters Island at 4:50 today. I sent him a text message and I said, good afternoon. We are downtown awaiting our variance meeting and have been unable to obtain an approval letter from Danny. He is with the management company. Can you tell me if the plans have been approved architecturally? His response at 4:51 p.m. today, it says, it was approved contingent of final drainage plan reviewed and approval from civil engineer. That is what he said.
And he is the review, but not the president. Does it have to go to the full board for approval?
He's on the board, and it did go to the full board yesterday. We had a meeting at 4:30 p.m. yesterday and presented, and they reviewed everything, and they said, we will get you a letter prior to your city BZA meeting. And we tried very, very hard to get that letter. So I just kind of wanted to, mention it, ask him if he could tell us whether or not we're, gonna be approved or not, so we could have this discussion with you guys.
The third-party engineer was not part of the review board meeting last night.
Yeah, they said it usually would take 1 to 2 days, is what their architect said. It would take 1 to 2 days for the civil company to review the plans to get back. But
Is there a public review portion to the stormwater review, or is that only at the city's stage of the process, or is that even, maybe that's a question for you, sorry, is there, sorry, first question for you, is there a public comment aspect to the stormwater review that the neighborhood association is undertaking?
That I can't speak to. I'm not on the board.
Okay.
Don't know.
Thank you. My question for the city, is there a public comment portion to the stormwater review process at the city's level, or is it all handled through the TRC?
For a single family residence like this that does not require TRC, there would not be, a public comment opportunity.
Anybody else have any questions for the applicants? Okay.
Who pays for
Thank
the
you.
damage?
No. Board members, board members.
Hold on.
Board members. Thank you. I should be specific.
Yeah, you're right.
No, it was for the board members.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's okay. That's okay. That's okay. So does anybody have any questions for anybody in opposition?
I think the question came up whether, if this was 35%, we wouldn't be having this discussion. They can do whatever they want to do. Is that right?
If they met all setbacks, all other zoning requirements, and we're at 35% lot coverage or below, that could be approved at staff level.
And so, to opposition, at 35%, they could just build. Would you have, you would still have water problems?
At 35%, it'd be less water problems, correct?
But for 35%, it may not have enough room to go to the very back of the lot in the marsh area and build a very tall masonry structure that's gonna block views, be obtrusive, and also cause water damage. It's not to have anything, it's that one area that I'll have to learn how to figure out how to do with the excess water. There's nowhere for it to go when it hits that. There's nowhere for it to go through. It goes around.
Okay.
And so if that was 35%, perhaps there wouldn't be enough room for that structure.
All right, so
It's a drainage issue.
two things.
If you had a.
Have you seen any, hold on. Have you seen any stormwater design plans for this property?
No.
Okay,
No,
and are any of you stormwater engineers?
no.
Okay.
I have to get a civil engineer to do
Okay.
that, yes.
Or the plans, they haven't even showed us the house. plans.
I understand.
And can I just say what she mentioned about the 55%?
Listen, I'm gonna have to take control of this meeting here,
No, no,
okay? I can't have this dialogue and so we have to discuss this
I
issue
understand.
among ourselves. If you have one more comment
One
to
more
make,
comment, that's
go
it.
ahead and make it and then we'll move on.
She said that my property was 55%. I did not build the property. I bought it already existing. I'm on a corner lot. It has a drive-through driveway. That's where the excessive is at. Now they do not allow a corner.
Understood.
That's why I'm at 55.
Understood. Thank you.
It's not,
All right.
yeah.
Now we're gonna close the public hearing portion of this meeting and we're gonna talk amongst ourselves. So who's got comments and what do we want to do?
It seems to me, well, so a handful of my questions have already been addressed, in particular with relation to the distances to adjacent property, setbacks. Understanding what the review process is for the stormwater. Frankly, I think it's particularly challenging for us we are not a stormwater body. It would be difficult for us to understand and to make any sort of determination on whether the 35% or 40% lot coverage would be a substantial detriment to the property just on the basis of they might still even if you were to if you took that porch or the pool and you moved it inboard, you're still, and you solve the 35%, you may still have a stormwater issue that may still need to be addressed externally from what we consider as a zoning body. So I'm uncomfortable trying to make a determination based purely on what the stormwater issues might be, because that is got two more additional levels of review before it would get settled. I don't know. I think I'm I'll let others talk but comment on it. I'm generally, I don't think that the request from the owners is unreasonable.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett. Anybody else want to discuss this application?
One thing I did hear, other than the drainage issue, the stormwater issues, are that some of the residents felt like it was too large at the 40% versus 35%. And I think that's something that the board does have review over. So I think that maybe we could talk about that too. I'm not also comfortable about the drainage plan, not knowing, but it will go through 2 reviews, like you said. I don't know if 40% or 35% makes a difference, but it may, the size of the structure seems to be something that, as far as a lot coverage.
Yeah, and so just for the board's edification, will you remind us, Mr. Slagle, what is the square footage of this structure as opposed to the surroundings homes? I think we had that on one of our slides. A little tricky to read, but we can zoom in.
I think it was like a 400 square foot difference.
So the proposed structure is what, 2,800, is that right? It's total coverage on the lot. We got a second story on the house. So
Yeah,
it's gonna be.
I thought it
That
was
doesn't work.
2,900.
All right, Ms. Crosby, how many,
2,800.
huh?
They said 2,800.
2,800 square
Yeah.
feet? Yeah, okay. And so let's look back, Matt, if we can, at the other surrounding properties. There were 2 slides showing the surrounding properties. One of them was that one, and then one of them was another one. Yeah, let's look at that. All right, so we've got the 2843 next door to the subject. And what is that, 2060? And then the ones across the street are 2,000, 1,800, 1,500.
Yeah.
2,400.
I think Mr. Albinos.
Albanos, yes, ma'am.
Sorry. Mentioned that I guess the average is 2,400 square feet of the others.
In the point.
If I may, these are footprints. Just keep that in mind. This is not heated square footage. These are footprints shown on these 2 images.
So it's not total square foot, it's just first floor,
Oh, so these are,
These are
The
footprints.
19 would be the one that would be.
the small.
hold on.
No,
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 I thought
we're not.
she asked my name, that's all. I'm
Yeah,
not saying
yeah,
anything.
no, she was just.
Okay, that's all. She was asking a question. That's all.
So these are not accurate square footage sizes for the buildings.
That's right.
Footprint only.
Where did this come from?
From the applicant.
I think the incongruity is that, the city has a lot coverage, the POA has a different lot coverage. We're days away from hearing a final opinion from the POA on the design of the building, which you did get a text message, but, an official document from the POA about the design, about the lot coverage. There was going to be a review by the engineer as it relates to stormwater management, the grading plan for it. I think we're days away from having the information necessary for us to be able to make a really good decision based on the POA, which is the public process that the neighborhood has embraced. I think we're just a little early.
Let me ask Ms. Crosby, do you have information that would suggest what the square footage is of the, because Ms. Grass has brought up a good point. And I don't know the answer, and I don't know that the board can make a decision one way or another without having
Mr. Chairman,
information. Hold on. I'm sorry, Chris.
I can pull up that information on the square footage of the adjacent property as reported by Charleston. County.
Okay, that'd be helpful. Thank you, Chris. We'll get that.
What do you guys expect?
Mr. McKay, my only concern about a deferral is that we're gonna be back here for another hour in 4 weeks. And, you know, it's just, we've gotten burned on those, just.
I don't disagree.
We know when the study is expected to be completed on the stormwater.
That's a good question. I think that would be the ARB's purview locally. I don't know where they are in that process. Do you have any idea of when you're gonna get that information?
They said last night that during our ARB meeting, it takes 1 to 2 days for them to review and get those results back to us.
Okay. Would these neighbors have an ability to comment on that, on those ARB findings on the stormwater or not?
Again, I'm not a part of the ARB. I don't know what their protocol is.
Okay. Do you know?
No, they haven't been upfront with us to begin with.
Okay, well,
They've
assuming,
yeah.
well, let's just
Yeah.
take it down a notch.
I got you.
Okay, so that I understand it's an emotional issue, I understand. So they have submitted an application to the ARB. The ARB is reviewing it. The ARB has approved it apparently on the condition of the stormwater. So is there a way for you with the people that you know to get information from the ARB on what they've submitted?
Yes, I'll make that email to Danny.
And it seems to me that you could comment on those to your local ARB if you find that those plans are lacking, could you not?
Not really.
No?
They make their own decisions.
Okay.
We've requested.
Well, wouldn't they make decisions for the benefit of the homeowners in general?
Like I said, we're in the point. They don't care about us, is what I'm trying to tell you. That's where we at now with the sizes of the houses.
Okay.
And get to your question, the average house in there is 16 to 2,300 square feet.
Okay.
That, that's how big the houses are.
The variance, they have drainage.
The drainage, again, like as you know, the drainage is the biggest.
I understand.
With the
That's,
tides
I,
coming out.
trust me, I got that.
I just like
I
to
understood
say,
that.
and the houses that we're concerned about are the ones on the
Okay.
water.
Right, I understand.
Yes, sir.
All right, we've got a lot of people waiting and we've, go ahead, Ms. Grant.
Just ask a question. Mr. McKay mentioned, and then I know you responded to him about the I guess deferring, but maybe not deferring, but I guess one thing I'm uncomfortable with is we don't know if the ARB is going to approve it because we don't know what the results of the drainage study are. And I
Correct.
don't know what that means for this board. Do we approve, as our approval?
I think any approval that we would make would have to be on the condition that it is approved by the ARB, including the stormwater design.
Okay.
And I would not feel comfortable approving it any other way without that condition. I don't think we can approve without that condition. Now, they may not be able to do it anyway. I mean, in other words, we're not replacing the jurisdiction of the ARB on this issue.
I guess what I'm conflicted with is that we don't know, they don't seem to know, they don't seem to know if a 5% variance is going to significantly increase. Right.
That's an excellent point.
And I feel like that's what we're here to decide. So that's uncomfortable that we don't have that information, and I don't think anybody really knows at this point. And I feel like that is something that could be studied and presented and talked about. So that's kind of where I stand on it.
Okay. Any information, Chris, before we move on?
The majority of the square footages are hovering between 1,900 to 2,500. There are a few outliers. There's the property right here in this bottom corner that's at 3,500 square feet.
What's the address on that one?
That is 25. In one moment, that is 2503
Okay.
Watercrest.
That's the one that's
Okay.
lived in on us, and it's
I
not
heard-
a whole lot.
I heard-
know, I'm just,
I heard.
it
I
ain't
heard you say
saying
that.
the rest.
No, that's the one I remember you said
Yes,
that.
sir,
Yeah.
yes, sir.
Okay, so, I don't mean to discourage a deferral where it's warranted. Again, you all decide, you make the motion and we'll vote.
Could you go to a lot coverages for the pointage max of the point?
This,
Is that it? Yes. So my question would be to the applicant as far as the lot coverages. So no matter the lot size, the coverages are what they are. Is that correct?
Yes, the lot coverages were derived based on the square footages of the lot that I pulled from the original plat.
Well, I tend to agree with Mr. Huey that it's something, it's an unknown. And so it's hard to vote in favor of granting something that's.
Yeah, so they're saying it will affect their properties. They don't really know that if that's true or not, but neither do we. And it seems like something that could be explained by somebody that knows more than anybody in this room, unfortunately. That's how I feel about it.
So in
And I-
your mind, does that mean deferral or not?
That would make sense to me, I think, but on the square footage issue, I disagree that this is some major difference between, the neighborhood, all the other houses. I think it's more, I think everybody in opposition seems to be more worried about the stormwater issues.
So,
Yeah.
Okay, well, one last question, Ms. Crosby. Do you have any information that there would be any difference at all between a 35% and a 40% lot coverage issue in terms of the stormwater drainage?
There is no way I am ever gonna go on record saying that I can give you that. I will say that the 5% is just under 100 square foot. So basically, if we were to come within compliance of the 35 square feet, they would have to reduce the footprint by just under 100 square feet. And that is 100 square feet times 3, because it's footprint, and we have 3 levels to our building. That's pretty substantial when you look at it from a leveled perspective. Not very substantial when you look at it from a ground coverage perspective. It's less than a 10 by 10 shed in perspective. So.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's do something.
Can I ask one more thing, and then I'll shut up the rest of the night. No, and I'm done, and I'm done. I know, I don't,
One more sentence.
they took the pool out, I don't think it'd be a problem.
Okay.
I don't think it'd be a problem with the house if they took the pool out. There's no pools in the.
That's 3 sentences.
Done.
It sounds like everybody wants to defer, so I'll make a motion to defer when we get to the information.
Okay, we got a motion to defer. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, we got a motion to defer and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? No. All right, motion passes. The item is deferred by a vote of 6-1.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all for your time.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, the next item on our agenda were the new applications, number 1, 1046 Main Street, Maryville, Ashleyville, Council District 9, PMS number 418-07-00-176, zoned SR2, requesting a special exception under section 54-501 to build a single-family residence on a lot of insufficient size, 4,792 square feet are existing, 6,000 square feet are required. The owner is Rocket Return Holdings LLC. The applicant is William Smith. Mr. Slagle.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. This is a lot, as you said, in the Maryville, Ashleyville neighborhood of West Ashley. The board has seen several of these requests to build a single family residence on a lot of insufficient size due to the original platting of these properties up against the SRT zoning. The lot here, you can see it's just to the north on Main Street, to the north of a county parcel. It's a vacant lot currently. The application form requesting the special exception. Again, this is a special exception, not a variance request. This is a rendering of the type of house that is proposed on this lot. Site plan, the lot in question is there, lot 69. I did want to highlight one aspect of this site plan with the outline, the footprint of the proposed house shown on it. It does appear that there is possibly a front setback issue with these two, I believe they're closets in the entryway of the house off of this front porch. And then if we go back to the rendering of the house, you see that that continues up as conditioned square footage. So there may also be a variance issue here that we can talk about in a minute. Here's the footprint of the house again, that front porch with the closets on either side. There is an exception within the zoning ordinance for porches within the front setback, but not for conditioned square footage like this would be. Some elevations of the proposed house. There's no relevant case history. And in general, the city, as you know, is supportive of creating new housing stock, consistent with prior recommendations in this neighborhood for lots of insufficient size. We are recommending approval with an if approved condition that the house would have to meet all other zoning requirements, including the front setback. And if this particular design is pursued further, it may need additional review and approval by this board for the front setback.
All right, thank you, Matt. Do we have anybody here in opposition to this application for 1046 Main Street? Anybody in opposition? Seeing no one, oh, I see you. We'll hear from you in just a minute. Mr. Smith, you want to come up and tell us about this one?
I think the closet space is probably just architect grew up on the plan, so we won't be requesting a variance for setbacks. We'll just get that fixed, take care of. You know, we enjoy building in this community. We always try to engage Ms. Higgins, who's the president of the community. We're looking forward to building another house in here. We own the one next door, which has a structure on it, so just building two side by side. And just look forward to bringing another house to the community, open any feedback. We got the double parking on there like she normally wants. If you look at the site plan, the other site plan, you can see that it's kind of outlined. Double parking, and there is a garage for additional parking. So it's that square, basically. It's a double drive. We've got additional parking. So I think you could park up to 4 cars. Now, a lot of the concern when we first started building here was street parking. if people park on the street, so always try to have more than enough parking. Obviously within the setbacks, meeting all the requirements, just need a special exception because of the zoning.
Okay. Thank you very much. Anybody else in support of the application? All right, we'll hear from anybody opposed to the application.
Good evening, I'm Marcia Higgins, President of the Maryville Ashleyville Neighborhood Association.
I'm John Carr, across the street from that building.
And I do appreciate, Mr. Smith clarifying that there will not be any variances, because there was a question mark about that, specifically in reference to his application that did not state that. So we really appreciate that. I want to make just a few points. The height of the house is 34.5 feet. We don't have any houses in our community at that height. Of course, that's always been concerned with these small lots of insufficient size. We don't disagree with the building of a house there, but we're concerned about the size of the house Mr. Smith wants to build. Apparently, it's a 3-story house on a lot of insufficient size, 4,792 square feet. So this house is too large for this size property. I did observe the property with Mr. Smith and the issue of the front setback. We did discuss that. As a matter of fact, asked him if that could be adjusted because that setback, it's not the front setback that's significant, it's the back setback. Needs more back setback. And so there's some kind of confusion in your presentation, because I thought this request is for the vacant lot, not the lot that the house is on, correct?
It's for the vacant lot.
Okay, good. It sounded like it was the house, the lot that the house is on. And there is a lot there that will also be of insufficient size that the house is on. So my question is, what does the owner and Mr. Smith plan to do here with this house that's already there? It's a very old house. It's been vacant for many years. So do they plan to renovate this 1-story house? Let it continue to be a 1-story house? Follow the footprint ordinance in reference to this house that's still there? What are their plans for that house? Because that house will definitely have an impact on this house that's being built. So those are the questions that that I have. And he answered the questions for the variance. There will be no variances, and we do appreciate that. Yes, sir. We do have several small lots in our community. Of 6,000 square feet is required. The lot size here is not 6,000 square feet. We always ask that with these lots of insufficient size, that the setback requirements are met. They have 2 parking spaces on the property, and the character of the community is considered and respected. What is happening with our community on these lots of insufficient size, and Mr. Smith has built something. They're building these large houses. They can't go out wide they go up cold at the height of the house to accommodate for the space, the footage, the square footage of the house. And that is really destroying the character of our community. But these large houses on the small lot. Mr. Smith has built some nice houses because he has had a couple of properties that's meet the 6,000 square foot requirements. They're very nice homes. I think they already been sold. And so we respect the type of houses that he is building, but we just ask that this house is a smaller house, particularly the height of the house. It's too tall, it's too high. That needs to be decreased. And with the small lot that's next to it, with the house on that property, what's the plan for that house? Will it be a one-story house? Will they go according to the footprint requirements for that property? What's the plan for that house? So those are the questions I had.
Thank you very much, Ms. Higgins.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time. Mr. Carr, anything to add, sir?
Yeah, the mere fact that this house is gonna be a 3-story house. There's no 3-story houses in Asheville. Right. And so we're trying to preserve the character of the neighborhood. And now you're asking for almost 2,000 square feet insufficient. It seems like every time people are just trying to stuff their way into Asheville and Maryville any way they can. The last time I stood here, I said you're setting a precedent. Now, we spoke against this house. Let me see. And I just took this picture today. 913 Fifth Avenue. That house is so small. The cars parking basically on the street, out of the driveway. And this is what you're allowing into the neighborhood. And we're trying to slow this, make everybody comply to the standards of the neighborhood. That's what we're asking. And I spoke with you about that last time. And it seemed like you're trying to set a precedent, just go ahead and do it. So it's kind of disturbing right now to me, the things that y'all allow to pass or get passed in the village itself.
Thank you, Mr. Carr. Anybody else have any comments to make in opposition to the application? All right, Mr. Smith, you can come on up and respond.
Yes, sir. The house next door will either renovate it or will potentially tear it down. We haven't decided yet. If we were to tear it down, probably would end up being a 2-story home, just being honest here. We do not need to ask for a special exception because there is already a home there, at least to my knowledge, from prior properties. Just want to clarify.
What about the footprint? I think Ms. Higgins was.
The footprint would be, within the setbacks, so it would be probably, I think 32 by 50 would be the absolute max footprint it would be. And then in regards to the 3rd story, it's maybe like an attic, we've had a lot of problems. It's like called bonus to be attic. Someone could finish it, kind of up to, the person afterwards. We've had a lot of people, trying to obviously create new housing for people, complain about storage. So we just thought, an attic that was a larger size. If someone wants to make it into a bonus room, they can. If not, they can keep it as an attic. But obviously, always wanting to work with the community. I did bring Ms. Higgins to the site several months back when we were meeting about a prior property, even before I'd even done anything, just to kind of get her thoughts on it. And any other questions I can answer.
All right, does anybody have any questions for Mr. Smith while he's here?
For the 3rd floor, what is the height of the 3rd floor?
You could probably pull it up. see, I mean, I'd have to have to be 7 feet.
Looks like it's
Well, you've got 10-foot ceilings on the downstairs, 9 foot on the second floor. Top plate 29.3. Top of subfloor 21.4. So 29.3 minus 21.4. So roughly like 7.9 feet.
Mr. Slagle, if we approve this special exception, there's no, he has to comply, the applicant has to comply with whatever the other building setback, square footage, height, and what we're looking at now might or might not be the ultimate plan of what he gets approved and builds, correct?
Correct. The board is only considering whether or not the vacant lot can
Should be
support
able-
a single family house on a lot of insufficient size. The other aspects will still be reviewed by zoning staff for approval.
So by right, he would be able to go up to 35 feet.
Correct.
without-
And that's a function of the city's zoning ordinance and not this application.
Correct.
Ordinance says 35 feet.
Correct. For SR2.
Yeah, like I said, but like you said, we may end up not building this house, maybe end up building another house, you know, I'm not sure. This was a house that we liked and maybe the bids come back and it's too high. We can't do it. So, you know, never know.
All right, any other questions for Mr. Smith? All right, thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you.
Questions for the city, comments?
Question for Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith.
Oh, sorry.
attic, so it's not a normal attic, you're saying it's an attic and it could be finished?
Yeah, basically, it can be an attic or it can be a bonus room. To kind of be up to like,
You're not gonna finish it.
we put on the market unfinished. If someone wanted it finished, we would finish it.
You might be safe to retreat now. We'll see. Anybody else have any more questions for Mr. Smith? Okay, we'll see.
one question for Mr. Slagle. Is this in fact would be the first 3-story house in the neighborhood? Is that correct?
I don't know. I don't not believe that they live there in the neighborhood, if that's what they, you know, I don't have any knowledge to say otherwise.
I guess technically you could do a 2-story house that was 35 foot high. But, you know, again, these aren't final plans. This is just an idea. I'm not sure if there's a 3-story house or not. There's definitely some.
So if you're gonna speak, you gotta
Yeah.
speak into the mic.
In terms of there being any 3-story house in the neighborhood, I'd have to drive around the neighborhood and see. I'd say the majority of houses are 2-story houses, 1-story
Well,
homes.
they are 35 feet anyway, roughly.
Well, I mean, you could go to 35 feet.
Right. And so Mr. Smith isn't locked in to building what's shown in the plans. However, at the same time, if he does build something that high, you better believe that Ms. Higgins in the neighborhood will say, well, that's not what you presented to the Board of Zoning Appeals in terms of what you intended to build. So he wants to show what he can do, I think.
Yeah, I just want to show you, this is the maximum you can do there. And then we build less. And then again, 2-story versus say 3-story. I just want to say that, you know, again, in a 2-story home, you could still go 35 feet tall. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Smith. Ms. Higgins, I got a question for you. I know you've been before our board several times, and I want to know whether or not there are covenants and restrictions in Maryville, Ashleyville that would guide owners of lots on architectural requirements, including height, density, number of stories, all those kinds of things. Do you have any restrictive covenants in your neighborhood?
No, we don't, but we have asked for them years ago. We asked for an overlay for that community. We asked for the head of planning and zoning to meet with us so we can establish some type of criteria for what kind of houses will be built there. We have perfect examples of affordable homes. I believe there's 5 or 6 of them that the city built with a special program. So we have a guide there to follow in terms of affordable housing. That's the priority need of the city, affordable housing. Why not use our community for affordable housing? You know, these houses now that they're building are being sold for $400,000, $500,000. And so we have asked for these things. It's not that we haven't asked for it.
No, I wouldn't.
We've
guess
asked
that.
for them.
No, right. Okay,
Because we recognize that it's something that's needed.
understood.
I have a question for you. If the house was 2 stories, but a similar height, would you guys have the same issue with that? Or is it the amount of stories that you're?
Is it the amount of work?
If it was a 2-story house, the same height as the 3-story house that's proposed, would make any difference to you guys or?
Yes, it would make a difference because Mr. Smith has been before this board before. And his plan was for 27 feet in height. That was the plan that he presented. And that's what we discussed in our meetings and everything. And then the bottom line was that he wanted to, and he did build a house that was higher than the 27 feet. So this is why we have to stick with strict restrictions for Mr. Smith. And what is the height of the house going to be? Because he says one thing and then he does something else. But this time, we want him to do something else. Because the house is 35 feet. He described it as a bonus room. It's 3 stories. I've lived in a house with a bonus room and that was another story on the house. I miss my house. And so we want him to build houses that's lower in height. We have houses that's 27 feet. They fit in well for the community because we have other houses in the community that's 27 feet. Yes, the city's maximum is 35 feet. Maybe the city needs to take a look at that in terms of what the maximum is, particularly in reference to the area that the house is going to be built in. I think that is significant. We are a Black settlement community. We were chartered in 1886, incorporated in 1888. We didn't have such a board at that time. We as a people did the best we could with what we had. The property was donated, not donated, we paid $25 for, I think, the 150 by 100 square feet, $25 back then, you know, that was a lot of money. But but we can't really use that as a guideline for us today. Things change.
Thank you.
I do thank you. I appreciate you listening.
Thank you.
We have that one site plan with the exception of the closet at the front, which could be removed. All the setbacks, everything's in the setback area now.
With the exception of the front.
Well, and the condition that's been proposed by the city would say, and I didn't understand it really when I saw it but now I understand it is because there was some suggestion on some plans that there might be a variance request, but the condition that the city is recommending is no variances.
But there's nothing that this board can say about the height.
Well, Yeah, that's a tricky little number there. Then if we grant the special exception, do they lose their special exception when they apply for a variance?
I'm not using, I don't need a variance.
We understand.
Yeah.
Further thoughts, comments, or a motion?
Well, I think we want, I think everybody in the community wants something built on this piece of property. The ordinance that allows the 35 feet is kind of preview. Like sure needs to be worked out with the community if they're going to continue to have good relationships in the community.
Mr. Slagle, if Mr. McKay was concerned about the height, could he make a motion, including a condition that the height be no greater than X number of feet?
Yes.
I don't know that we have enough information or understanding or character appraisal of the neighborhood to understand how to pinpoint a number that would be adequate or where to set that limit.
I heard Ms. Higgins very clearly say that homes of 27 feet in height are common in the neighborhood and blend in with the neighborhood as it exists today.
Did not catch that, thank you.
That's okay.
Appreciate it.
There was a lot that was said.
And then sometimes aren't the zoning regulations limiting height to a story or a story and a half? And I mean, what does that equate to as far as the feet?
There are the height districts, especially downtown, here. SR 2 zoning is what's relied upon, the maximum height.
I don't think they're typically measured in stories. I think they're typically measured in feet.
Could I speak just for a second?
Sure, well,
Yeah, I think it'd be helpful.
why not? Because everybody else. Open forum. Go ahead. Yeah.
You know, we have built other houses that are over 27 feet. You know, I do want to say that one time we came in here, you guys probably don't remember, maybe you do. I had a plan on the board that was 27.9 feet. I told everybody that I was planning on building at 32 feet. And then, you know, you guys limited the height to, I believe, 30 feet. It was 30 feet, and we did the building at 29.9 feet. As much as I understand that, I also feel like that's talking about building on the lot, that's kind of like building design and all that, but again, that's y'all's decision. If you want to do that or not, but I kind of see how, I guess my take on it is, we're here for a special exception to build on the lot. I didn't know we were here about what the building looks like.
Right. I understand. Yeah.
And then at the same time, we're just trying to be responsive to the community and their issues and concerns.
There's the character.
Yeah.
It's a good one. Anything to add?
A question, I think, it was asked whether the 2-story would be okay as opposed to the 3-story. I think the neighborhood said 2-story would be okay. Yes.
35 feet is too high. The 27 feet fit in well with our community.
Okay, I thought I heard you say that the 2-story was, even though I think Mr. Huey
He did.
asked the question, something similar to if it was 2-story and 35 feet, would you be okay with that?
No, sir.
Okay. Okay.
I don't feel like we could say, I don't feel like we can say 27 feet if we've required him to build at 30 feet. I mean, it seems kind of arbitrary. I mean, I don't feel like we can do that house by house. I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but
All I know is that as confirmed by Matt, we can place a height condition on the approval. Whether anybody chooses to do that as part of their motion, is up to them. I don't know that we can, I don't know that it's good practice to try to pick and choose various heights and rewrite the zoning code on things, but I think when there's a concern that's expressed by the neighborhood association president about the character of the neighborhood and the eroding character of the neighborhood as a result of homes that are built for sale speculatively in order to try to, and nobody's saying it's not a good idea to make a profit. Of course, home builders have every right to do that. The question is there a balance between the needs of the neighborhood and the needs of the home builder?
Can we go back to the area?
Is that a 3-story house? Across the street? Certainly elevated basement.
Well, I believe Mr. Smith said the lot was about 29.9 feet. We must have said 30 feet.
I'm confident that I remember previously
Yeah.
granting an approval for a special exception with a limitation of 30 feet in height.
I move that we approve the special exception with the limitation of 30 feet.
All right, is there a second?
What about the city's condition?
Yeah, the city's condition that there will be no variances. Yeah.
I'll second.
All right, Ms. Grass, will second that motion. All right, we'll go ahead and vote. Just to repeat, the motion is to approve the special exception under two conditions. Number one, building height no greater than 30 feet. Number two, approval is for building the single-family residence on a lot of insufficient size. The single-family residence must meet all other zoning requirements, including the front setback, or seek additional BZA-Z review and approval. All right, clearly stated motion. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None are opposed. The motion passes and the special exception is granted under the two conditions described. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I would just have one recommendation. Just so we have some clarity going forward, there's been houses that have been approved without the limitation, some with, some without. So I was just trying to get precedent across the board. Cause it is like some people are coming here not getting limited.
I don't disagree with you, Mr. Smith,
And I can make 30-foot work. That's fine. I'm just saying.
so I understand what's fair for you is fair for everybody else, and I get that. And so if you you want to send a letter to Mr. Summerfield or anything like that.
I appreciate y'all.
But I heard you and I'm listening.
Thank you very much.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, the next item on our agenda, B2, 3289. Guess that's Come See Lane. We need Robert here to pronounce these names. Johns Island, Council District 3, TMS number 280-00-00-274. Zone SR1, requesting a special exception under section 54-110F to extend a non-conforming west side setback of 5 feet, 9 feet is required for a screen porch addition. Owner applicant is William Whaley. Mr. Slagle.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a property on Johns Island, on Comsey Lane between Langston Drive and Thoroughbred Boulevard. And you see on the aerial, this is a view looking towards the rear of the property. There, the proposed screen porch addition is in the rear of the house, obviously, sort of where this pinch point in the lot line is. That parcel boundary has a sort of abnormal shape. There's the application form, the site plan showing that triangular shape of the lot, not the lot itself, but this where it comes inwards towards the house and where the proposed screen porch would be. You see there's an existing 5-foot setback from that side property line to the house, and they're looking to extend that non-conforming 5-foot setback where 9 feet are required. They're proposing to build the typical shed style screen porch shown on the left, not the gable. And you'll see later that there's a recommended condition specifying which one of these will be built. So it's not sort of an open-ended approval, but it is the shed style on the left that's proposed. There's no relevant case history for this property, and staff is recommending approval with the condition that it's for construction of the typical shed style screen porch shown and highlighted on sheet S1A.
All right, thank you, Mr. Slagle. Do we have anybody in opposition to the application for 3289 Cumsey Lane? All right, seeing no one in opposition, do we have the owner or applicant here? Nobody's here for this one. They must have run out earlier. All right, so any questions for the city?
I'll move for approval.
All right, Mr. Asper to approve
With staff.
with the staff recommended condition.
Second.
All right, Mr. Bennett got in just ahead of you, Mrs. Butcher. So we'll go ahead and vote. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None are opposed. The motion passes with the condition as stated by city staff. And so nobody will be able to correct me on my pronunciation. I was hoping somebody would be there to do that for me. The next item on our agenda, B3, 23 Timmerman Drive, Burns Downs. Council District 11, TMS number 421-01-00-200. Zoned SR2, requesting a special exception under section 54-110F to extend a non-conforming south side setback of 5 feet, 9 feet are required for a 1-story rear addition. The owner is Mackenzie Rogers. The applicant is Daniel Rogers. Mr. Slagle.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. This is a property in West Ashley on Timmerman Drive. The rear of the property backs up to Coburg Road. So the Coburg cow would be up to the north, to the top of this image. Here's an aerial photo and another perspective of the property. And you'll see from the site plan that there's a proposed addition along this side setback. This is the application form. Some of the building plans. So here I'll zoom in a bit. The existing side setback of the house is 5 feet on this side, and they're looking to continue that with a single-story addition. And again, this is the south side setback. So here you can see what that would look like from sort of an oblique aerial view. The proposed addition shown at the bottom. There's no relevant case history for this property, and staff are recommending approval.
All right, thank you, Matt. Does anybody have any opposition to the application at 23 Timmerman? Anybody in opposition? All right, seeing no one in opposition, do we have the owner or applicant here?
Yes, sir.
All right, anything you'd like to say to the board? You don't have to if you don't want to.
No, it's just, I would just wanted to keep it straight down the line that it already is.
Yes, sir.
It just makes it easier to build.
All right, thank you, sir.
So,
Anybody have any questions for the city? You want to stay for the vote? Stay this long.
I'll make a motion for approval.
All right, Mr. McKay moves to approve. Is there a second? All right, Mr. Richards seconds the motion. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None are opposed. Your
approved.
special exception for 23 Timmerman Drive is approved. Thank you all. Have a good night. Okay. Next item on our agenda, B4, 17 Alberta Avenue, Wagner Terrace, Council District 6, TMS number 463-11-03-099, zone SR2, requesting a special exception under section 54-110F to vertically extend a non-conforming east side setback of 5 feet 4 inches, 9 feet are required, for a 2-story rear addition. The owner is Nicholas Franco. The applicant is Coastal Creek Design, Joel Adrian. Mr. Slade.
Mr. Chairman. Zoning map here shows that the property is on Alberta Avenue, about mid-block between Hester Street and Piedmont Avenue, Wagner Terrace. Aerial photo showing the rear of the house. In the rear, there is a critical area, Tidelands Marsh, another view of the property from the front. The application form. So this is a special exception request to extend the non-conforming east side setback of 5 feet 4 inches where 9 feet are required. This is for a rear 2-story addition. So in the plans, which I'm sure Mr. Adrian will go over in greater detail, he provided a history of the property, sandboard maps, etc., showing the evolution of the existing structure over time. Plats of the property. Zoom in here. So on this, again, the east side setback, you see highlighted in sort of a cyan blue color, the special exception request square footage. So it would be for 80 square feet that encroaches into that 9-foot side setback. Building plans with which Mr. Adrian can again go into detail on. Looking at some of the elevations of the house, if you look at the 2 images on the left-hand side of the screen, you see the existing front elevation and what the proposed front elevation would be. So you see that rear 2-story addition. Likewise, if you look at the 2 images on the right-hand side, the existing rear elevation and then what the proposed rear elevation would look like. Looking from the left side of the property, again, you can see that 2-story rear addition. Looking from the right side. Some existing photos of the house. Aerial photos. There's no relevant case history for this property. Staff are recommending approval. And I'd like to just draw your attention to your public comment packet. There was a comment submitted by the Historic Charleston Foundation regarding this application, expressing concerns about the mass and the scale of this proposed 2-story addition being out of character with Wagner Terrace. And then we also received a letter today from the Wagner Terrace Neighborhood Association showing that they were coordinated with on this application and that the neighborhood association is supportive. So that comment was not in your packet, but you should have it in front of you.
All right, thank you, Matt. We have anybody here who wishes to speak in opposition to the application for 17 Alberta? All right, seeing no one in opposition, Mr. Adrian.
Thank you, Joel Adrian, Coastal Creek Design. I'm here for 17 Alberta, and
Man, if we could just go to the site plan, and I'll say the reason that the HOA approval wasn't in the packet is because they met yesterday. And so we presented to the association yesterday. They said they would support the application as is. We also have had conversations with City BAR. There is no bar review required because the only area that we are modifying is non-historic structure. So we've got a property that you look at, the depth of the request is not changing. The length of that non-conformity exists. We're just asking to take the roof off and put a second floor on so that my clients can add some square footage for his growing family. He's got a little girl, thinking about having another child, and they love the neighborhood. They've been there for multiple years. So I really just think that if we could focus on that little blue sliver, that is the crux of the request. There's not room. You got garage over here, the driveway, we can't come forward. We got our front setback already. And the easiest way to add on top of this part of the existing house. Still preserve some yard for their future use, and not get into a rear setback or get any closer to that. I think I would really just ask the question.
All right, any questions for Mr. Agron? Like, we don't have any questions for you. Oh, Mr. Bennett does, sorry.
Yeah, just real quick, have you had conversations with the neighbors adjacent? And
We have, my client is well known in the neighborhood, and both neighbors have been supportive of the request.
Any other questions for Mr. Agron? Thank you, sir.
All right.
Any other questions for the city? Somebody ready to make a motion?
I'll move for approval. I think it's a relatively reasonable design for the addition. It's not quite as large as some of those we've seen. The fact that there's support from the neighbors, I think is encouraging. I know HCF is opposed to it, but I think this is probably better than some of the others, and I don't know that we necessarily need to send it to BAR to give a more intense review. So my motion is for approval.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bennett. Mr. Bennett has moved to approve. Is there a second?
Can I ask a question?
You may.
Did you just say that you want to recommend that it goes before BAR? What did you say about BAR?
I did not feel it was necessary to send this design to
Okay.
BAR.
All right, so we got a motion to approve. Remind me, were there any staff suggested conditions
No.
on this one?
No,
Okay.
it's just.
So we got a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, Mr. Goodwin seconds the motion. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? One is opposed, Ms. Grass, the others vote in favor. Therefore, the special exception for 17 Alberta Avenue is approved. Thank you, Mr. Avery. All right, the next item on our agenda is B5, 66 Anson Street, Anson Borough Council District 8, TMS number 458-01-03-012, zoned STR, requesting a variance from section 54-301 to build an accessory building with a 40-foot, 1-inch front street setback, 60 feet are required. The owner is Helen Rice. The applicant is Thomas Podharski. Mr. Slavin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. This property is on Anson Street, just north of Society Street, a couple of blocks south of where we're sitting right now. Aerial photo, this oblique view is a little misleading. It's the red roof property shown here, the swimming pool in the back. The application form. There's two things that you'll notice on the proposed site plan. If I zoom in, it might be helpful. There's a proposed, what's labeled here is a proposed trash enclosure, which is 40 feet, 1 inch from Anson Street. And then in the rear of the property in the corner is what's shown as a proposed accessory building. Just want to make it clear that this accessory building has been reviewed and approved at staff level. It meets the setbacks, it meets the zoning requirements. So what's being considered by this board is this other trash enclosure structure. So, an elevation showing what this would look like. 66 Anson Street is the building on the left of the image. 62 Anson Street is on the right. And the structure can be seen in the bottom image, what it would look like from the street over the wall of 66 Anson Street. Few photos submitted by the applicant of the property. This is a gate from Anson Street looking into the yard. So the trash enclosure would be sort of back behind where these pots are currently located in these photos. There's some architectural details of the trash enclosure. Be sort of a trellis structure, copper finials on top, wooden louvers. Probably the nicest trash enclosure I've maybe seen. And my understanding is that it would be planted with vines as well to kind of further obscure the structure from view. More details. It's important to note this property is under an easement with Historic Charleston Foundation, and they have reviewed and approved the same drawings that you are seeing here. So they reviewed and approved both the trash enclosure as well as the accessory structure in the back corner. This has come before BAR as well on May 8th, 2025 for conceptual approval to remove the shed and build a single-story accessory building and garden folly. And that was approved at BAR. It's shown here. So staff's recommendation is for approval.
All right, thank you, Mr. Slagle. We have anybody here in opposition to the application for 66 Anson Street?
And sorry, Mr. Chairman, I did fail to mention that in your public comment packet, through our Innovate site, we received comments from Richard and Pamela Scurry,
Yes.
who live at 72 Anson Street.
Yep.
I'm not sure if that's who's present here.
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Okay, I didn't see you
So they
back
did
there.
submit
Thank
written
you.
comments and they're here in person.
So just give me a moment and we'll let the applicant speak and then we'll hear from you. Do we have the owner applicant present? Yes, sir. Anything you'd like to say? I think you might have somebody opposed.
Hello, yes, my name is Tom Karowski. I'm the designer for this project. And I just want to thank you all for your time. I know it's been a long meeting. I'm hoping that this won't be all that controversial. The idea is that we would like to be able to enclose the trash cans, which are currently just sitting out in the front yard. And I think in keeping with the character of the neighborhood, we tried to design this in such a way that it would be both beautiful and have utility for Helen and for future owners. If you look at the site plan, if you wouldn't mind. Thank you very much. We've got a couple of features here that make it difficult to comply with the zoning variance as it is. One is that you'll see the majority of the area where we could build is taken up by a pool and then a pre-existing garden. And both the client and I think that it would be a bit of a shame to tear up an existing garden for the sake of a trash enclosure. And also the location of where that would be rather more inconvenient for the actual use of what the structure is supposed to be for. I'd also like to point out that further up the street on Anson, I think it's 82 Anson, there is a much larger trellis that is directly on the street up against the front garden wall that is significantly taller than what we have proposed here. So my hope is that we could both provide utility for the homeowner, beautify the property, and be in keeping with the neighborhood. I'll also point out that in terms of lot coverage, we're nowhere near what our total lot allowance is. This is a structure that doesn't have electricity. There's no water. It's not insulated. It's 4 posts with louvered shutters and a copper roof. So I can't imagine that this would have a great impact on neighbors. It's not something that you will be able to see from either side of the building. It's something you could just see the top of from the street. And as I said, I think that the trellis that exists at 82, though it's right on the street, doesn't seem to have a negative or deleterious impact the experience of looking at Benton.
All right, thank you. Have you had an opportunity to speak with the Scurries, the neighbors?
I personally have not, but
Okay.
when we went through the BAR proposal, we went to the neighborhood association and I think I submitted it to them 6 weeks before we submitted or went up to the board. And during that time, there were some emails back and forth, but I think what happened was that they didn't have a meeting scheduled because they're away on summer leave for some reason.
Okay, well, that's fine. I would just, you'll get to hear from them now.
Thank you.
Do we have anybody else who wishes to speak in support of the application? All right, we'll hear from you, Mr. and Mrs. Scurry.
Well, I am an ASID designer. I am not an architect. But I was here before. Richard, unfortunately, was not. I think there's sort of some confusion maybe for us in reading what was really asked for. We have concern with this building here. Okay, but a very famous greenhouse. That is a Latrell Briggs greenhouse. So I did not see in any of the paperwork, but maybe, well, my experience doesn't allow me to read it, the height of that building. I did read also, that it was very clear that that building would only have a shower. I mean, no shower, no toilet, no shower. I did read on the thing that it has a shower. So I do not believe in all conversation that was, the concept was approved, that they could build an accessory building, otherwise known as, in my industry, a folly. And I think follies are fun. I think it's fun to have an interesting garbage. But I have built on top of a building in New York City, a Victorian greenhouse. So I think I have the right to have sun coming into my Latrell Briggs greenhouse. So I don't know what the height is, because there isn't necessarily a conversation about just being a neighbor of thy neighbors thyself. So it's kind of a little awkward. I love beautiful things. So the other thing, I don't really care. But I do care about the back, because what's the height? You're all talking about height here today. What's the height?
Okay, so let's have that conversation. We have to have it at the board meeting. We'll have to have it at the board meeting, right? So anybody, does your husband wish to speak?
He's my title, he's still.
Well, we were under a misconception here too about the garbage enclosure is, I don't know where we got the idea, but I was told it was gonna be right against the fence, I mean, in the front. Against the cement wall. And I gather it's not, so I don't have as much problem with it as, because it was sticking up above the fence, right against the fence would be terrible. But back where it is, I don't have as much of a problem with it. And they've already started constructing the other larger building back by what Ben was referring to as our greenhouse. It's really more of a
It's a potting, it's a
potting
potting
area.
area. It's actually a cold frame greenhouse with original brick. And just thought I'd let me know. We're not taking it away. I would do want sun to go into my garden. I think that's allowed.
So we're objecting to the building back in the back in terms of the height, because it'll block some of the sun. But I don't know what if I were sitting in your place and the building's already started, we look across the fence and it's already going up, and so if there's a way of limiting the height more, that would be great. But otherwise, that's our situation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Scurry. Thank you, Mrs. Scurry. All right, anybody else wishes to speak on this issue? Yes, sir.
Hi, I'm Steve Craven, I live at 8 George. A buzzword that I've heard tonight actually was size and scope. And the front elevation that was demonstrated showing the roof of this trash shed is, I think, too much in the sense of size and scope. I think there was a comment in the notes from the previous meeting that there had to be high enough ceiling to open the roll cart. Well, I did a personal measurement, granted there may be some variations in roll carts, but it took 6 feet 2 inches to open the roll cart. So I don't know where the extra size is required. But that's my concern. I always heard that it was the appearance from the front of the house, whether things were approved or denied with the Historic Charleston Foundation, for example. I can't speak for them, obviously. But this is clearly visible from the front, and I think it's just too much.
Thank you very much, sir. All right, Mr. Slagle, before we hear from the applicant again, let's make sure I've got a clear picture of what we're doing here. What is the structure on the corner next to the pool? Is that the trash? Is that the garbage building there?
This structure here is an accessory structure. There's a toilet, there's a sink shown in this drawing. I'm not sure what the property owner intends, pool house type accessory structure.
That's not something that's come before our board for approval, is that right?
That's right.
Okay,
This is something that.
because that was
The accessory
an initial accessory structure that was built that they could do by right, correct?
With
architectural
BAR
approval.
approval, correct,
Okay,
correct.
and so we're here on only the trash receptacle coverage
Yes.
area.
And strictly because of its distance from the front of the property, is that correct?
Correct. It's
Correct.
going to be located 40 feet, 1 inch from Hanson Street where 60 feet would be required.
So, Mr. Muscuri, just so you know, we can't, there's nothing that we can do about the structure that is, we don't have any jurisdiction to do anything about the pool house or whatever that structure is. We don't have
So who does?
Any
And
power over
we've
that.
not been notified.
that's a city question, but
Because
not,
your thing, as I understood it the last time, was an idea could be done, but not an idea.
Well-
The details would be later.
we may be mixing up boards. Do you know whether or not this, in your history, has this ever come before this board, for the BZA?
Not before BZA.
Right.
And we can look into the BAR actions on the accessory structure and other zoning approvals, building permits, just to make sure that everything was approved
Would a
properly.
neighbor be notified, or am I naive?
Not if it's something that's allowed by right, it doesn't require, I believe for BAR, you would have seen signs in the yard or for that, but.
It's rude.
All right. Sir, anything you'd like to say in response?
Yeah, if I may.
Yes, please.
Oh.
And I want to be sure I'm pronouncing your name right, Mr. Podrasky?
Podrasky, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I know it's a mouthful.
That's good.
I always appreciate neighbor insight and thoughts about our projects. That rear house is a 1-story building that's going to be 10'9" inches, and I know it's not in the purview of this meeting, but it's a really modest structure, and we did go through the BAR meetings, and the neighbors were there at the meeting, and all of that was discussed. And in terms of the height of that garden structure, when you open up the lid, it's about 6 feet, but then if you have to put a roof over it, like we would like to do, that of course by nature gets taller. We went through a couple rounds of talks with April Wood from HCF, and I myself went through a couple different versions of the design for this. And we could, for example, try to shorten it and to remove the finials to make it slightly smaller. But what we found is that in doing so, it just made it look worse. I felt like there was a proportional issue involved, that we really wanted this to look really, really nice and cover up the somewhat more unsavory nature of what it was trying to hide.
Okay, but the only thing that you're requesting from this board is a variance from the setback, which is usually 60 feet required. And you'd like to put it within 40 feet. And did you say you already have architectural approval for that structure from the BAR?
Yes, sir. BAR has approved these plans and we have approvals from Maplewood.
Okay.
And I submitted the agenda minutes with this application.
Anything else you'd like to say?
I don't think so, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody have any questions?
Yeah, just to clarify, I know you just said you have BAR approval. Did they have any concern about being able to see the structure over the fence line from the street?
Yes, ma'am. It was brought up and we had a discussion about it at the board. And
So all that was discussed.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank
Can
you.
I say something similar? Okay.
Why not? Come on up.
The reason the 40 feet is important versus the 60 feet is because it's closer to the street. So when you're looking at this thing, these things stick up. That's all. And it wouldn't have to be taken off the top. It could be taken off the bottom, which would mean that when you are putting something in the garbage can, you may have to pull it out to open the top. I don't, given the situation for the neighborhood, that doesn't strike me as being all that onerous. So that would be my comment.
Thank you. Thank you. And now this is gonna have to turn into another question for you, and that is, what is the hardship and why you can't put it any further away from the street?
Yes, sir. As far as the hardship goes, the reason we can't put it any further from the street is that there is an existing pool and existing garden. And so I suppose you could require us to rip up a garden to put this in, but it seems like an awful waste. And in terms of the use of the structure and the impact on the site, it's hard for me to justify or think that it would be justified in doing so.
Okay. And again, the BAR has reviewed the design and the viewscape from the street and has approved this structure.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I just have one question. What's the height of the fence on the front of the street? It seems fairly tall.
So on the street, there's a masonry knee wall with metal gates or metal pickets that are covered with foliage. So the height of that, I don't know, I can.
Well, and I guess where I'm going with this, even it almost appears, even if you were across the street, you'd have a hard time seeing the top of this above that fence line. But I suppose to your point, if it's a metal fence and if someone came back later and cut all the greenery off, then it'd be visible.
As it is now, I believe the only place you could really see it would be through the gate. In terms of angle of eyesight, if you were to walk across the street, that fence, as you can see by the figure on that rendering, by the drawing, the vegetation as it is now is above that figure shown at 5'8".
Will you go back to the BAR, please, recommendations? So when it said staff conditions for approval, they were suggested lowering the height. What was it originally?
I'm sorry, I don't understand the question.
It says staff conditions for approval for the trellis structure. Staff suggests lowering the height of the trash can enclosure and turning the structure perpendicular to Anson Street.
Well, as I've said before, we did have a discussion about it, but ultimately, after discussion, the drawings as you see it prevailed.
Board comments still don't see it as excessively tall. I hope that's.
Well, if those are staff conditions for approval.
Those were staff conditions, just as the conditions suggested to the BZA are sometimes followed and sometimes not by the BAR.
I see what you're saying.
We look at the site plan again. If we were to try to get on the other side of that 60-foot line, then I think that puts us pushing it back. Let's see, 3-story brick. I'm kind of like y'all, I don't see another location that it really fits.
May I offer one more comment?
Please, please, please.
To the extent that this might be relevant, if you look on the Sanborn map from 1884 and 1888, the only reason that there's a side yard here is because there used to be a gigantic three-story brick building there. And so at one point in the 20th century, that building came down. And so I feel like in the context of what this street used to be, this is a really minor intrusion.
Now we gotta make you build a 3-story brick garbage.
All right, thank you very much. I think we've heard enough to make a decision on this matter. So is there discussion?
I'll make a motion, unless you want to discuss.
No, I was gonna.
I'll make a motion for approval.
All right, Mr. Bennett moves to approve. Do I have a second? Second. Mr. McKay seconds the motion. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Mr. Bass is opposed. All others are in favor, and therefore the variance for 66 Anson Street is granted. Thank you very much. All right, the next item on our agenda is B6, 12 and 12.5 Orrs Court, West Side. Council District 6, TMS number 460-07-02-074. Zone DR2F at 12 Orrs Court, requesting a variance from section 54-301 to create a new lot of insufficient size, 2,975 square feet proposed, 4,000 square feet are required at 12.5 Orrs Court, requesting variance from section 54-824 to create a new lot with 0 feet of lot frontage, 40 feet are required for a single-family residence. The owner is Pearl Harris. The applicant is Robbie Marty. Mr. Slagle.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. This is a property on Orrs Court, across from, I believe it's Simmons Pinckney Middle School and Burke High School, further to the left of this image, west of Ashley Avenue, north of Fishburne Street. You can see on this oblique aerial photo what the property looks like when looking from the south. Get more zoomed in and then rotating around for a different angle. The application form. You get to the site plan here first. So what's being proposed is adding another dwelling unit in the rear of the property. There's an existing 2-unit dwelling towards the front that you can see in those photos. And what's being proposed is this rear unit. And as part of that request, they want to subdivide this existing property into 2, resulting in 12 Orrs Court in the front to be a lot of insufficient size, and 12.5 Orrs Court in the rear to not have any frontage on Orrs Court. So those are really, when you boil it down, the 2 variances that are being requested. You see the 6 parking spaces that they're able to provide, or 6 are required, 2 parking spaces per dwelling unit. This is, again, 2 variances that are being requested, and I'll let the applicant sort of describe the rationale for what they're requesting to try to keep this property in the family and create another dwelling unit for the family. This is not for investment purposes, not for sale, but to create another dwelling unit for the family. These are some of the drawings for that rear structure that's proposed to be built. This project has come before what we call at the city Sketch Plan Wednesday. It's basically the first step of the TRC, or the Technical Review Committee process. And that meeting occurred on September 3rd, 2025. The staff recommendation for both of these variance requests is for denial, is strictly based on the zoning ordinance. Of course, we're supportive of the concept of increased housing, especially keeping it in the family, not for rent or not for sale. But we believe that there's just other options for accomplishing that. Specifically, the lot could not be subdivided and another unit could be added just based on the existing zoning. My understanding is that that's a potential issue with financing, for that other, family member to have sort of a, clear path towards a mortgage, on a subdivided lot versus another unit on a different lot. So I think that's sort of the basis for what they're trying to do. But again, just strictly based on the zoning ordinance as it is, staff couldn't find, a path towards approval. I do want to note that there were several comments submitted that you'll have in your public comment packet. Historic Charleston Foundation provided a comment, very similar to what I just described, that there might be a way to accomplish this without seeking variances. And then there are several comments of support, including from Mrs. Harris's nephew, I believe, and a lengthy letter of support from the president of the West Side Neighborhood Association as well.
All right, thank you, Matt. So do we have anybody here to speak in opposition to these applications? All right, seeing no one in opposition, because the city is recommending denial, Ms. Marty, will we hear from you first, or?
Yeah. Okay, my name is Robbie Marty, and I am representing the property owner, Ms. Harris, and her nephew, James Snyder, in this application. So there are just several important points that I would like to go through in this. One of those is that this property has been in the Harris family since the early 1990s. So it's a long time resident of the city of Charleston, and this is a property that she made as an investment for the legacy of her family. Currently has been shared. It contains a small duplex building. Also important that this lot is of sufficient size to be able to build a third unit. There's plenty of room. We're proposing a small 2-story structure. It's raised because of flood. We are easily able to fit the 6 cars required. There's a driveway to the side. We completed the drawings and put them into the sort of the queue with the city for permitting, and at the same time, Mr. Snyder began to seek the financing, and that was where he began to run into problems, because there were sort of complexities of when you, for him building a lot on a lot that's owned by somebody else. Now, we understand that there are other financial solutions and ways that one could go about with a horizontal property regime and stuff like that. Those are both complicated and costly ways to proceed. And as this family, who I've said has owned this property for a long period of time, would like to proceed down the most simple path. And the most simple path would be to subdivide this property. Subdividing this property would only affect this property on paper. We would be able to build this exact same lot or property, exact same building on this lot if it were left as one lot. So, so when we started to look into this process, the first person that we spoke with was, or that Ms. Harris spoke with, was Councilman Gregory, and he was the one who was sort of like, I would support this. I think this is a good idea. This seems very reasonable. Did the city get a letter from him? I spoke with him today and he said he was going to email the letter to you. You didn't receive it?
Not that you've seen.
Then we sat down and put our heads together to think about exactly what we could do or how this could be accomplished. And in that, we are able to meet all of the other city requirements. We are able to meet the setbacks for the new property. We're within the lot coverage and within the height. And so the only things that we're asking for is this lot of sufficient size, and then of course the lot frontage. I do understand Historic Charleston's and the city's viewpoint that the city doesn't like to create smaller than required lots because of the possibility of over intensification. But nothing about this will be more intense than it would be if it were left as a single lot. We, as I said, we did spend some time talking with the neighbors. We canvassed the neighbors. That's in the petition. We also spoke with the neighbor at 14 Orrs Court and also at 319 Ashley, which is the property that is directly behind. Both of those neighbors were in support of this. And then I reached out to Historic Charleston and also the Preservation Society. The Preservation Society indicated in an email to me that they were supportive of this minimally impacted property and in the idea of a family that had held this property for a long time to continue to be able to live and to own property on the peninsula in this sort of changing atmosphere that you all see probably more than anybody in the zoning board. That is all I have.
Thank you, Ms. Marty. Any questions while you're here? Question.
I have a question. Is the size of what you'd be able to do here any different than if you were to go the ADU route? Meaning, understand the question?
Yeah, so this building, that was the route, that was the route that we went to begin with. We had it as a single lot. It was this exact building and it is the same building, yes. So, and then we were sort of retroactively coming back and exploring this possibility, mostly as a simplification for the homeowners just to be able to proceed forward in a less complicated financial and quite honestly, TRC path.
Thank you. All right, who else wishes to speak in support? I see you, sir. You've been waiting all night patiently.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and board members. My name is Arthur Lawrence and I live at corner of Fishburne and Orrs Court over 78 years. And I'm a community activist in the city. And I think the applicant had checked all the boxes. And when I hear family talk about coming home and creating generation wealth, I just get happy to hear that, you know? And this property is special because what's happening on Orrs Court is changing everything. And this development is no hardship on any other property in Orrs Court. You can go from Sumter to Fishburne Street. Practically all those individuals signed a petition supporting this development. The one that were not at home, they were sent a letter, and they have not returned a letter, so that's just saying yes. So, and working with them, and you can see, you know,
Yes, sir. Thank you.
That's number 12, the brick house and the little Freeman cottage on the other side. And that's on one side, and number 10A and 14A. This is 14A on the other side of the development. It's not going to harm either one. But then when you go down the street and look at number 16 Orrs Court and what happening, they're getting ready to build under the same development behind number 16 Freeman College. And between number 18, 17 Orrs Court, you can see what's getting ready to happen. About 8 to 6 homes are to be built on 17 and 18, overshadowing this development. This development was sit right in. And, the applicant sent out a letter to everyone, and have everyone to sign that, petition. So they, the developer, she did everything what she's supposed to be done. And, we support that, and we're happy to see them coming back home and to create generational wealth. So I hope that you support this effort, and we thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, sir. All right, anybody else who would like to speak in support of the application? Yes, sir.
Good evening, my name is James Snyder III. And I'm here to ask for your support on this various request. Ms. Harris is my mother's sister. She's the last member of that immediate family. And she's the one that is instilling our legacy in the city of Charleston. And with your approval of the variance, I might be able to pick up where she leaves off and continue to represent our and preserve our legacy in Charleston. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. All right, anybody else who wishes to speak in support of the application?
I'm Pearl Harris. I'm here in support of the variance. I'm one of Charleston, South Carolina, born in 1 Cal.
Ms. Harris, is it possible for you to come up and speak into the microphone? I'm sorry. Well, then that's okay. Sure, if you wouldn't mind moving the mic back, that'd be great. We just wanted to make sure that you're on the record.
Okay, thank you. Resident of Charleston, South Carolina, 1939, and I bought this property in 1992, and I've been hoping that the rest of the land that is unoccupied as presently would be gifted to James to build his house on. And he was not able to get a mortgage unless he have a deed saying that he owned a piece of land that the house is going on. So we had a junction here and asked me to support us in our efforts in getting this approved today.
Thank you very much,
And I
Ms.
would
Harris.
appreciate it so much because this is something that's really going to the family, and we plan to keep it in the family. And I thank you all very much.
Thank you, Ms. Harris. All right, anybody else wishes to speak in support of the applications for 12 and 12.5 Wars Court? All right, any questions for the city? Any questions for the owner or applicant? Is there a motion?
I like the idea of the subdivision. I think it creates affordability. That section of the peninsula is a village. And you can tell by the support that they have. Sometimes we make it worse when we create something that value kind of goes in the other direction, and which will change the character of the district. So based on that, I'll vote for, my motion would be for approval.
Okay, Mr. Goodwin has moved to approve. Is there a second? All right, Ms. Grass, a second of the motion. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None are opposed. The motion passes and the variances for 12 and 12.5 Wars Court are granted. Thank you. All right. Pause for a moment and allow people to. Yes, we're going to go ahead and take a 5-minute recess. We'll be back in just a moment.
God bless you guys. I know. Yeah, right. Good.
Like I know I'm spelling.
Congratulations.
I'm so sorry. I said, yeah, wait to take me, but getting back, not the end of therapy. I did one meeting 2 years ago, this is my second, and because, oh, it's
There's
stuff.
entertainment value.
I need to
You're covering this?
And then
Thank you.
how it seems like everybody's like in this, we're in this together. I don't think like we're just gonna get through this. Like everybody, like not just y'all, it's everybody.
Thank you. That's an email. Official. Send me an email and I'll get it over to you sometime soon. No problem. You have a good day.
Good to see you.
Have a new knee.
Yes, man. Glad that we could get this done for you.
Give it another few. When did you have surgery?
We became next.
You say you just had it?
Like, yeah, it's had 10 days ago.
Oh. You're not gonna need the cane, you might need the walker.
I
I
think
have,
I'm doing good now.
I have my walker for when I need to get this one done.
Done is all done very well, and then my knee is fine.
Yeah, it's, my new one's great. Thank you. You too.
How can I say?
Yeah, that's how when I got mine. Good job, y'all. Good night. Yeah, take care. So where do you wanna go? Something good.
Yeah.
Here and steak. Okay. Going up to the bar, it's kind of feel, I don't care. I mean, I look right at the foot of the roof, and anyway, we got so many, go up the course, speed, building, I know, it's woody. Have you been to the, Dollar Tree? The building, they kind of the central office, it's like, oh, yeah, I mean, you know, we got a side where you dig right inside.
Oh, yeah.
So, I think right to the left, I have that, get them out, right, it used to be, that new building, it's one of the new storefronts. No, it's really good. Your way on, yeah, everything's on my way. I live in KUZ, right, that's what I do.
Being like these, and I wait till about 2 o'clock.
Yeah, somehow.
But you guys back where you got the keg?
It's being recorded on this saying that.
I'm really, you know, I should have very interesting. She's a freshman. Oh, she's a freshman, yeah, the development, the upcoming freshman, I found it off. I was thinking crap. Yeah, I remember those days. Yeah. What happened to you? Last time, I thought she told us.
Remote.
Oh, yeah.
I was home. Yeah, I was home.
Like, it's not noise, but it's y'all eating. Yeah.
I know it's weird. Funny thing away. Your arms, some powerful microphone.
Open, I was like, what is that? Maybe.
She's gotta be loving, because see, her niece is going to LSU. And she doesn't know that going to school. I'm kidding. Yeah, that's not right. Right. Yeah, right. Yeah. That's why I need to teach them to
Oh, here you go. You need some more water?
You're not gonna drink yours?
Now. No, enough to go. You just drink patty. No, I'm really good. Really good. Enough.
Can I have time to get weather?
Oh, you were.
Yeah, do I have time to run just some weather?
Yeah. That's what I call it. That guy was kind of started off on the fight. She's a. Yeah, you would have. You should. Yeah, yeah. Oh, it's very good. They don't all stuff like that. Yeah, last. They found it made up the first house.
All right. Get going on the home stretch here. We recording, everything's good? All right, now we're at B7, 1138 King Street, North Central, Council District 4. EMS number 463-12-01-030, Zone DR1F. Requesting a variance from section 54-301 to build an accessory structure with an 11-foot 5-inch side street setback. 25 feet are required. The owner is Anthony Schuler. The applicant is Synchronicity LLC, Chandra Sura. Mr. Slagle.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. This is a property on the corner of King Street and Maple Street. See here, zone DR1F across from SR2 zone properties. Here it is in an aerial photo, and the structure in question, there was a pre-existing detached garage, which you can see here. We'll talk more about. Just the application form. So again, there's a few images of pre-existing garage structure. It does not exist anymore. What the request is for really is to replace that structure with a similar one with the 11-foot 5-inch side street setback from Maple Street, which you see in the foreground of the images, where 25 feet would be required. In the central part of this slide is the existing site plan. Again, that structure's not there anymore, but when it was there, it was sort of slightly rotated. It encroached on the side setback with the neighboring property. And the proposal on the left-hand side is that it would be sort of straightened out, not rotated anymore. And it's this, let me zoom in, just to be clear. It's this dimension here that the variance is requested for, that 11-foot 5-inch side street setback from Maple Street. The applicant can kind of get into more detail on the drawings if they would like, but again, it's a very similar structure. The existing garage shown on the left-hand side, the proposed shown on the right-hand side. Front elevations. And I should mention that my understanding is that the existing garage was demolished for safety, structural type reasons. And they did receive a demo permit for that. Shown here, on July 10th of 2025, the demolition permit was issued for that pre-existing garage, and it has since been removed. And they're looking to rebuild something similar. And with that, staff is recommending approval.
All right, is there anybody here in opposition to the application for 1138 King Street? All right, seeing no one in opposition, do we have the owner or applicant present?
Good evening. My name is Chandru Surya. I'm here representing the property owner Anthony Schuler and also Visitor Connect, so Rich Crypto. We work with on several projects on the peninsula. And I'm also here representing Synchronicity, the design team. And I'm joined by Emma Tyler, the student from the Clemson Worth project, and also Luke Cher, principal at Synchronicity. So the property we have. Can go back to like the site plan. Yeah, so the property located at a corner of King and Maple it had like an existing historic accessory structure which encroached onto the interior like side and the rear setbacks, and also the accessory structure setback from Maple Street. The building was structurally unstable, and it was due to crumble and fall onto the neighboring property. So the building had to be brought down, and the property owner has offered to replace it with a new structure, which would be much more aligned and comply with the interior and side setbacks. And we are requesting variance for the accessory structure setback from Maple Street, which would. And the proposed structure would relatively be of similar size as the existing historic structure that was on the property. We had also reached out to, we tried contacting the neighbors too, but we were not able to reach them, but we left messages informing them about the intent and also about the meeting today. The other things to do with, you can scroll back to scroll through the drawings. So the structure the drawing for the proposed structure was prepared by separate third party entity, but we are here requesting for the variance for the setback. So appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sura. Does anybody have any questions while he's here? No questions. All right, so does anybody want to discuss or ask questions? I'll move approve. All right, Mr. Bennett moves to approve. I'll second. Mr. McKay seconds the motion. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None are opposed. The motion passes. Thank you for your patience this evening.
Thank you. Just wanted to say, a lot of the meetings, the previous agenda item was one of the best things I've seen. Thank you all for the hard work.
Yeah, it really was heartwarming, honestly.
Love it. Thank you for goosebumps.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. We'll see you next time.
That's right.
All right. The next item on our agenda, B8 59 Gibb Street, Charlestown, Council District 8, MS number 457-11-01-051, zone STR. Requesting a variance from section 54-301 to build an addition resulting in total side setbacks of 7 feet 6 inches, 16 feet 9 inches are existing, 18 feet required. The owner is Jennings Cameron. The applicant is LFA Architecture, Nora F. Altman, and just for the record, Mr. Bennett has recused himself on it. So Mr. Slavin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. This property is located on Gibbs Street between Ashley Boulevard and Rutledge Boulevard, just north of South Battery Street. This is an aerial photo, sort of looking at the rear of the structure, and then here's another looking at it from the front, the street side. And one thing you'll notice is that the property to the left in this image, 57 Gibbs Street, is similar, has a similar front facade, similar design. And it also has an addition here in front of this white vehicle that you can see, which will be relevant possibly to our discussion. This is the application form. I'll let the applicant describe how this satisfies the variance test. So looking at the site plan here, zoom in a little bit. See better. Get my dimensions correct. I believe it's the more. So this would be the east side setback. They were looking at the east side of the building where the proposed addition would be built, sort of in front of the driveway. And it would be a 2-story addition taking up this space. The first level would be storage and the second would be sort of an expansion of the living room. 2 parking spaces would be maintained as required. Some of the photos provided by the applicant, you see 59 Gibbs to the right. This is the property that we are discussing, and then 57 Gibbs. It's described as a sister house with, again, a similar front facade and design, and it has a similar garage addition to what is proposed at 59 Gibbs. At the bottom right, you see a rendering of what the addition would look like, again, with first level storage at grade and then an expansion of the living room above it. Here's the ground floor as proposed with, again, storage, parking is maintained. And then on the first floor proposed, it would be an expansion of the family room. You can see it's this sort of square shape currently, and it would become a rectangle with the addition. Some changes, minor changes proposed within the footprint of the second floor, and then in the attic space, proposing to convert that to a flex room, but that doesn't impact setbacks or zoning or anything else. And I should note too that east side setback where the addition is proposed, that will not encroach into the east setback. So they're meeting the east setback, and the request is the total setbacks when you include both east and west. That's what the variance request is for. Because again, 18 feet are required for those combined setbacks, where 16 feet 9 inches are existing. So it's already non-conforming, and the addition would result in the combined setbacks of 7 feet 6 inches. Some of the drawings that were submitted as part of the application. And this is a comment that was provided by 57 Gibbs, the neighbor that would be most immediately impacted by this proposed addition. And as you see here, they have reviewed the drawings dated September 30th, 2025, and they have no objections to the proposed changes. In terms of case history at this property, this has come before the board previously. So on July 18th of 2023, there was a variance request to allow an elevated 1-story addition, garage, office, guest room, family room expansion with a 3-foot east side setback and a 4.5-foot total side setback, where 6 feet for that east side setback are required and 18 for the total setbacks. As you see, that was denied. There was another request before the board on August 21st of 2023, which was withdrawn by the applicant. And that was actually a very similar request to what's before you now. It's reduced in size from what was first requested in July of 2023. And staff is recommending approval for this addition, this request.
All right, thank you, Matt. Do we have anybody here in opposition to the application for 59 Gibb Street? Seeing no one, Ms. Altman, if you'd like to speak to the board.
Laura Altman, LFA Architecture, representing Jennings Cameron at 59 Gibb Street. This is a forever home for my clients, and she's a preservation at heart. So we are trying to do the right thing in terms of giving them the extra space. The house was built in 1925, thereabouts, by the LaRoche family, and the rear porches were enclosed in the mid-40s. And then new rear porches were added. So this house has already been expanded towards the rear in the past. As we've discussed, there's a sister house at 57 Gibbs, which includes a side addition that is actually much larger and taller, larger in footprint and taller. So we're just requesting a variance to allow that total side setback to be 7.5 feet instead of 18 feet. To give us the additional space, it's significantly reduced from that previous application in July of 2023. We eliminated the garage at the ground floor, so really it's just storage space, about 5.5 or 6 foot head height, so that the existing main floor level, that first floor, is a nice elevated crawl space. That main floor will be continued in the new living room. And only 1 story at that point, not extending up the same height as the rest of the house. We're using a low slope roof, and then we are meeting that 6 foot side setback. This house was built before the zoning ordinance was put into place, and that the zoning ordinance for this area was intended for area where single houses, not the boxy craftsman style house that was built here prior to the ordinance. The driveway is on the opposite side of what the zoning ordinance would guide you towards, because we've got our larger setback on the side where the house is pushed closer to the property line on the west side. The house already oversteps the front, rear, and west side setbacks, and the original footprint, even from the get-go, exceeded that 18-foot total side setbacks. Nearly all of the nearby houses also exceed the side setbacks and overstep exceed the total side setbacks and overstep the side setbacks, unless it's one of those odd shaped or double lots. And all that's just because the ordinance came later than all of these houses. We cannot add on to the rear of this house because we're already at the rear setback, and those existing porches have been recently restored and are an important part of just living space for the client. So I know that in the past, Preservation Society was, well, they prefer for us to add on to the rear instead of adding on to the side. So that's why we reduced the footprint and pushed it farther back along the side of the house to minimize the impact. If you look at this, this is the area of the footprint that would be allowed if we did an accessory unit, just an accessory building, not an accessory dwelling unit, but an accessory unit. This is the footprint that would be allowed within the lot coverage that we currently have, almost 500 square feet. It would be, by right, could be taller than the proposed addition because it could go up to 24 feet for the roof height. And this one has a roof height of 17 or 18 feet. Maybe 19 foot 1. So hopefully when we think about it that way, trying to get extra space for this house, for this family, I think this is much less impactful than other alternatives. We're not aware of any objections, and I have spoken with HCF and Preservation Society about the latest proposal. Y'all have any questions?
No objections from neighbors?
No. I have letters, and they were in the public comment packet from 2023 when we had a bigger addition. I have spoken to the neighbor at 61, Elizabeth Christian, because she's a friend. Verbally, she was in support of it too. So, but I only got a letter of support or any letter from that one neighbor most directly adjacent, because it's the only person we can get in touch with.
And Historic Charleston and Preservation Society were.
They were not going to comment, is what I said. So, this will, of course, also go to VAR, and they are in that loop too.
All right, any further questions? Any questions from the city?
I'll make a motion for approval.
Okay, moves to approve. Ms. Grass seconds the motion. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None opposed. Motion passes and the variance is granted.
Thank you very much.
You. All right, the final item on our agenda, we're skipping over B9, which has been deferred, and we're at B10, 106 Columbus Street, East Side Council District 4. TMS number 459-05-03-063 Zone PB, requesting a variance from section 54-317 to provide no off-street parking for a proposed wine bar. 4 spaces are required. The owner is Human Darji. The applicant is Brian Crouch, architect. Mr. Slagle.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. This property address should sound familiar. This is a rehearing of this request for a parking variance. We'll get into the history in a later slide, but as you'll recall, this was a request that was denied by the board, was granted reconsideration, and now here we are to hear the matter again. This property is zone GB, and it is east of Meeting Street, between Meeting Street and Nassau Street. See on the aerial photo, it's sort of long Charleston single style structure within GB zoning. See the application form. Some of this information provided by the applicant is supplemental to what maybe you have seen before, so I'll let Mr. Crouch walk you through this and explain some of the rationale for the parking variance requests. You'll note, I'll zoom in on the bottom right, that sort of the concept what they're proposing is a wine bar, beer and wine sales only, no liquor license, with a Tuesday to Sunday, 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. type operation with counter service where guests would order at the bar and receive food at their tables, about 18 seats. And in terms of staffing, there would be 3 staff per shift, a bartender, a bar back, and a manager. Again, I'll let Mr. Crouch get into some of the variance test and how he believes that this request satisfies that. Another thing that I'll highlight is some of the comparable precedents that he believes are similar that came before the Board of Zoning Appeals zoning and received parking variances at these different establishments. Another thing that I'll note as we go through the drawings here, you'll see in the proposed site plan, the wine bar would be in this first floor, front area on Columbus Street, and then there's an additional residential component to this project that will sort of be pursued as they move forward, if they get approval here for the parking variance, et cetera. But the request before you tonight is for the parking variance associated with the wine bar. And depending on what design is sort of continued down the line with the residential aspect, they may have to receive board approval for that as well. Because even though this is zone GB, if the sort of primary larger use of the structure is residential, which it could be sort of, again, depending on the design, they'd be held to the GB residential setbacks, lot coverage, et cetera. So there might be additional discussions with the applicant regarding that. But again, we're focusing on the parking variance for the wine bar this evening. So the case history, as I noted just a moment ago, this application was first heard by the board on July 15th of 2025, where it was deferred. It came back to the board on September 2nd, 2025, where it was denied. And then they appealed for reconsideration of the prior decision on October 7th, 2025, and that was approved, bringing us to tonight's hearing. So consistent with prior staff recommendations, staff is recommending denial for this request. Just again, given sort of the lack of clarity about where staff would park who are working at the wine bar, without, spaces clearly identified for their use that are not at a paid parking lot nearby. However, we acknowledge that similar establishments have received similar parking relief. Bar Rollins, even just a few meetings ago, just a few blocks north, had received similar, parking relief. So some of, if approved conditions, basically what they're already proposing to do anyway, but, holding them to that if the board chooses to approve this. Staff believes it'd be appropriate to include operation hours of 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. Tuesday to Sunday, no live music, no amplified music or outdoor music, and no liquor, beer and wine only. So again, consistent with our prior recommendations, city staff is recommending denial, but acknowledges that similar requests have been granted, and it's just a balancing act of parking downtown.
All right, thank you, Matt. Seeing no one in opposition, we'll hear from Mr. Crouch.
Good evening, everybody. Brian Crouch, you guys are all familiar with the project. Just kind of wanted to touch base on what was said. So we're asking for a variance for 327 square feet of indoor use and not providing for parking. The request is really driven by the physical restraints of the site. The lot, it cannot accommodate 4 parking spaces and meet the city's requirements for commercial parking. Egress and that's ingress. Again, operation summary, Tuesday to Sunday, beer and wine only. There are 18, the square footage allows 18 occupants. And we would have 3 people per shift working at the wine bar. The physical constraints, the lot width is really the biggest hardship we find. The property is in general business, and so being allowed a commercial use is kind of promoted. General business defined by the city ordinances to provide a broad range of commercial use serving citywide and neighborhood needs within a compact, walkable, urban form. This wine bar directly fulfills that intent by activating a historic property with neighborhood serving use. Comparable, we the bar loans is the latest property that has had a similar approval. And then if you go to the site plan, please. And as Matt or Mr. Slagle pointed out, so we are going to be held to the GB residential setback requirements. So I know that there was a concern early on of how large this rear addition was going to be, and we'll actually have to make it considerably smaller, regardless of any commercial use on the property. We'll have to meet the general business residential setback requirements. That was a new discovery just today, so our application, our design had not been revised to show that. But that is our plan, is to not come back to ask for setback variances for the residential use. Kind of touching on the variant test application. 106 Columbus Street possesses extraordinary conditions stemming from its narrow lot and architectural layout, its historic nature. The site constraints just do not allow for ingress egress commercial parking. These conditions do not generally apply to other properties. Adjacent general business zone parcels are larger and either contain modern commercial buildings or similarly have been approved for parking variances like our request. Applying the ordinance would effectively prohibit or unreasonably restrict the utilization of the property. We believe that the strict application of section 5430 or 64317 would eliminate any feasibility of commercial use for this property. The parcel size and historic constraints mean that we wouldn't be able to have a restaurant, cafe, office, retail, any sort of commercial use. And the variance will not be detriment to adjacent properties. I mean, this establishment's going to be something that would kind of bring life back to this historic structure and really promote walkability within the neighborhood. And engage. I mean, Meeting Street's right there. It's a very walkable area. There was a comment about staff parking. There are a number of paid to park spaces, and we would be willing to put within the approval that staff would get a stipend for paid parking during operational hours. Very much.
All right, thank you, Mr. Crouch. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Crouch? Is there?
Yeah, neighboring properties, what are the neighboring properties on both sides?
So the property closest to Meeting Street is a lot of commercial use, and then the one directly adjacent, our client has reached out to. She originally she never submitted any opposition. He has reached out kind of numerous times, and I don't believe has really had any support or opposition of the actual parking variance.
So if we could let's just work through this. The building at Meeting and Columbus on the left-hand side of that photo with the rust colored roof, that is a commercial building, commercial use.
That's correct.
Okay.
This is like
And then you got a parking lot right next to it, right? Which is not lost on anybody that there's a parking lot next door. And then you've got your property, and then you've got a residential property to the right, correct?
That's correct.
And then what's to the right of that?
Another commercial property.
Okay.
And then directly across the street here is a paid for parking. The access to it is on Meeting Street, but this entire lot, if you could flip to, we have a map page. So this entire lot here is a 24-hour paid to park, and so it's this lot directly across the street as well.
Does anybody have any concerns about any of the elements of the variance test not being met in this case?
I mean, it seems like he's proven that there's not the ability to park on site.
And I do think I would respect the use as a general business.
Okay, any further discussion? Anyone have anything else to say? Somebody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion, but I do want to say that I appreciate that everything that we've commented on and made suggestions about that you've responded to. And I would make a motion for approval with the condition that the applicant recommended, to provide a stipend for the 3 staff members, for the paid park spaces.
Okay, and the approved,
Oh,
and the
yes, yes.
conditions suggested by staff.
Outlined by the city.
Okay, so your client, you understand that the motion is for approval under these 3 conditions, plus the condition that for as long as he operates the business there, there'll be some stipend to support staff parking.
During operating hours.
I don't think it matters when they're paid, but so long as they're paid some amount, to help with the parking. Okay, so that's the motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, Ms. Bennett jumped in there. I appreciate that. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? One is opposed, Mr. Goodwin. The ayes have it, by a vote of 5-6 to 1. Right? Yeah, 6 to 1. So the variance is approved with the conditions as described.
Thank you all very much.
All right, thank you, Mr. Gosh.
Have a good evening.
All right, that was devastating.
Are we still on?
Yeah.
But we still.